This is the April 20th, 2022 meeting of the Concord City Planning Board. Madam Clerk, could you call the roll?
Chairman Woodfin.
Here.
Vice Chair Foss.
Here.
Councillor Pierce.
Here.
Member Hicks.
Here.
Member Smithmeyer.
Here.
Member Fox. Member Savage.
Here.
We do expect David Fox. We'll seat him when he comes. First item on the agenda is approval of the minutes from the March 16th meeting. Would anyone like to make a motion to approve those minutes as submitted? I'll make that motion.
Second.
Seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any discussion? All those in favor, sorry.
Aye.
Ayes. All those opposed? That
Not
motion.
hearing anybody.
Didn't hear anybody. They all said aye.
Aye.
They all said
I
aye.
did not vote. I was not here.
Thank you. I was not here either.
I was here.
So Suzanne and Councilor Pierce, you're abstaining?
Yep.
I wasn't here either, but what does that do for the vote?
But you can
can still vote
You
if
can
you
still
want to.
pass the minutes.
Yeah,
even
I'll
if you
vote
aren't
in
here.
approval.
So, item 4 on our agenda is an overview, 125 North State Street. I need to recuse myself regarding that. So Carol, if you could make a motion to postpone and have the public hearing on the 15th of June.
Well, maybe I should entertain that motion.
You should
since
entertain
I'm
that
chairing For
That's
the
right.
moment.
I'll second that motion.
No, someone needs to make the motion, I
Okay,
think.
I'll make that motion.
Okay. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The motion carries.
Okay, so that will be heard on the 15th of June. So if anyone's here for that, we're not going to hear that item tonight. Item 5 on our item 5 on our agenda for tonight is design review by consent. If anyone's here regarding items 5A,
The agenda's fixed.
B, C, D, and E, those items are all heard by consent. If anyone would like to pull any of those items off the consent agenda, please make yourself known. If not, we'll vote on them in mass.
I move we accept.
Okay, any of the member of the board have any items that they wish to pull off? If not, we have a motion on the
Second.
table and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. So those items have been approved with architectural design review recommendations. Still early yet.
Yep.
All right, let's move on to item 6 on our agenda, design review applications. Can we read item 6A of the agenda?
Capital Commons requests ADR approval for an amendment to the previously approved architectural uplighting at 11 South Main Street in the Central Business Performance District. I believe we do have an update from staff.
We do. Kudos to the applicant, but also to ADR. We were able to do a nighttime lighting test the day before the ADR meeting. We spent some time and we flipped through different color combinations. We played with lighting intensities. We really got a sense of how certain colors show better at certain lighting intensities. We found that the pastel colors get washed out at the same intensity as, you know, like a nice solid red, so that helped to inform a very good discussion at the ADR meeting. And the ADR committee has moved to cap brightness at 20%. I believe the system defaults to 100%, so that is an 80% reduction in lighting brightness. And they have also worked with a lighting contractor and an engineer to really dial in the performance of the lights and to help program some of these different displays. So the committee felt very strongly that the proposal before you tonight is within reason, and the applicant is amenable to the recommendations that ADR made at the committee meeting.
Okay, and I believe, and I can't find it in reading it again, but when I was reading it over the weekend, I believe the lights are static, so there's no motion.
Correct. So the application is to show multiple colors. Their original application was just for one. It will still remain static. There will be no flashing, no moving, nothing like that, no dynamic colors.
Okay, this is a public hearing. Would anyone like to speak on opposition or to this matter? Yes, anybody? No? Any member of the board have any questions or concerns regarding this? No? All right, we'll close the public hearing. So Sam, is there any, so this is an application to amend the previous approval for architectural lighting, right?
Correct.
So could,
Okay, yeah, Suzanne?
So what is the
the status of what they can do now?
One color,
One color? Any color?
any color. The current display, the Ukrainian flag, was a special exception that staff granted.
Okay, any other questions, Matt?
So Sam, where it says flashing red snow instead is not going to be happening.
Do not, yeah, so that is pulled from the Boston Tower. That is the same poem.
Right.
Flashing is not to be considered flashing. What is meant by that is red, no light in a band.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, any other questions, concerns? Yes, we'll close the public hearing and entertain a motion to approve the amendment as submitted. Would someone like to make that motion?
So moved.
Do we want, is the
Discussion?
motion subject to the condition that the lights be at 20%, or is it?
That is ADR's recommendation. So subject to ADR
So
recommendations.
subject to ADR
take care of
recommendations.
that.
So your second's good? Or your motion
My
is good?
motion is good.
Second's good?
Yes.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Oh,
No, one no. Suzanne was no on that. Motion carries.
So, so flashing is really alternating.
Yeah. So it's gonna be static, so there's no, there's no like on, off, on, off, on, off.
Right.
Blinking red light. Okay, item 6B, if we could read that into the record?
Stone River Architects, on behalf of 107 Store Street LLC, requests ADR approval for the installation of 2 new windows on the second floor of the south-facing facade at 107 Store Street in the Central Business Performance District.
Okay, can we get a staff update on this?
So these windows cannot be seen by any pedestrian vantage point, just based on how the building is, and there's, this is on the second floor, there's an extension of the first floor, there's a lot of topography in the area. ADR was totally fine with these, except they just wanted the condition that the casings match the casings of the other windows, which are bronze.
So that's, the only ADR recommendation was casings?
Yes.
Thought I saw something else, okay. All right, this is a public hearing. Any questions, comments, concerns regarding this application from the public? No? Any member of the board have any comments, questions, or concerns regarding this?
I have a question.
Yes.
For Heather. The new form-based coding, would this even come before us, something like this?
You know, I am not prepared to answer that question.
I'm just curious because it seems,
I think so this is triggered because it's a building permit in a performance district.
Okay.
So it's kind of like the easiest measure for, we won't have performance districts, but we do call out building permits in specific districts. So yes, it would.
okay.
That's a good question. Is the right answer?
It is.
Suzanne?
and it's kind of important because I know that sometimes, like, some of the buildings that have windows replaced, they have not matched the existing casings, and it stands out quite a bit. So it's good to catch it somehow.
Well, for clarification, we don't regulate windows as part of architectural design review because they don't require building permits. So these are only coming before us because they are new windows. So they do need building permits to make new holes in the wall to install new windows.
Right, but
So
this
that's
is on
why-
Dixon. This is the building by Dixon building?
This is on Low Ave.
So it's right-
No, but I'm talking about the one that
Oh, I see.
they have a
Sorry.
white,
Yeah,
and it's not supposed to be.
Yep.
So
Dixon.
it was a new window.
Yep.
Okay, would some actually close the public hearing, and would someone like to make a motion to grant approval for architectural design review for the installation of 2 new windows on the second floor of the south-facing facade at 107 Store Street, subject to the architectural design review comments?
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Moves us rapidly on to section 7 of our agenda tonight, site plan subdivisions and conditional use permits. If we could read item 7A into the record.
Timothy Green, on behalf of Granite Center LLC, requests conditional use permit approval for the addition of antennas and equipment upgrades for a rooftop telecommunication installation at 100th North Main Street in the Central Business Performance District. Staff does recommend this application be determined complete, not a development of regional impact, and to open the public hearing.
Okay, is the applicant here? Come on up. Okay, so we have a determination of completeness and not a development of regional impact. Someone that can make a motion to find the application complete and open public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Public hearing is open. Welcome to the table. If you could state your name for the record.
Hi, good evening. My name is Timothy Green. I'm here on behalf of T-Mobile, who is the carrier on the roof, as well as Crown Castle, who is the long-term easement on the top of the building at 1 Eagle Square. T-Mobile has has had an installation on the top of the building for close to 20 years, and as part of regular nationwide network upgrades, as you roll through the Gs, 3G, 4G, 5G, they're looking to make some changes to their equipment and modify the installation.
Okay. We get a quick staff update.
There's really not much to add. The only reason that this triggered the telecommunications conditional use permit is because they are expanding some of the antenna and also the structure up there. Normally, if it was just an addition to an existing structure, this would be considered a co-location. But in this case, this tripped the CUP, and ADR did not have any comments on it.
So I work down off of Main Street. Am I going to be able to walk with my phone? No, kidding. No, kidding.
It'll work better. That was the whole design.
Okay. Questions from the board? So what's it's height 60 feet above ground level, not extend higher than 73 feet total. What's that? Is that off the top of the building?
Off the top of the building, yes.
And what's there now?
Right now, they're mounted way in the back
Yeah.
on the penthouse, looking to bring them forward. So if you imagine how cellular antennas work, is that they tilt a little bit down to where you are walking on the street, so it works. Well, if it's tilted like that, it just points in the roof. It doesn't provide adequate coverage over time. Back in the day, maybe it worked, but now with the different frequencies, it needs to move out closer to the roof edge to get to where the people are.
Okay. Any other questions from the board? Any member of the audience have any questions or concerns about this application? No? Okay. Thank you very much for your testimony. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Any other comments from staff?
Nothing to add.
Member of the board have any other comments or questions? All right, if not, in your packet, we have, can we take these 2.1 and 2.2 together, Heather? No, I heard Lisa say no. Okay, so 2.1 is to grant architectural design review approval for installation of telecommunications equipment at 100 North Main Street and 1 Eagle Square in the Central Business Performance District. Would someone like to make a motion to grant architectural design approval?
So move.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. 2.2 is to grant CUP approval for the installation of telecommunications equipment at 100 North Main Street and 1 Eagle Square in the Central Business Performance District, subject to the following conditions, and it's outlined in your packet with precedent conditions 1 through 3, subsequent conditions 1 and 2. Would someone like to make a motion to grant the CUP approval as outlined?
So moved.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. You're all set. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moves us on to the next item on our agenda, which is 7B. Read that into the record.
S&H Land Services, on behalf of the Jobin Family Trust, requests minor subdivision approval for a 2-lot subdivision and lot line adjustment for property off Warner Road and Blackwater Road in the Open Space Residential District. Staff recommends the application be determined complete, not a development of regional impact, and to open the public hearing.
Okay, so again, we have a determination of completeness, not a development of regional impact. Would someone like to make a motion to find the application complete and open the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Find the application complete, not a development of regional impact, and open the public hearing. Sorry.
So moved.
Second, Earl?
Then I'll still second it.
And make sure I say it right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Public hearing is open. Come to you in a sec. If we could get a quick staff update on this.
Sure, so it's a combo. We're doing a lot line adjustment and a minor subdivision. Lot 4 is taking some land from 33Z 1, just to put it over the 4-acre threshold so that it can be subdivided into two-acre lots. The applicant has requested a waiver from soils. They are providing data from the USDA Web Soil Survey, and they have provided test pit data showing that the soils can support a septic system.
All right, welcome to the table. If you guys could state your names for the record.
Good evening. My name is Rob Deegan. I'm a surveyor with S&H Land Services. I'm here.
Rich Jobin, trustee of the Jobin Family Trust.
You just sit normally, you don't have to pull those up too close, otherwise you'll kill the people behind you. I'd have bet money that Warner Road wasn't in Concord still, but here we are, right? All right, if you could tell us a little bit about your project?
Well, as Sam indicated, Mr. Jobin owns 2 properties. One is around 10 acres, the other is just under 4. So we're looking to append a small sliver of land from the large lot, which is lot 1, to the smaller lot, which is lot 4, and then subdivide lot 4 into two-acre lots. It's very nice land. I've had the opportunity to walk it. I did the test pits. It's flat. It's great soils. Group 1, sandy, no problems there. It's a nice, street's got good visibility, pretty flat, long, straight, and that's really the plan. I had the opportunity to speak with Sam about the project the other day, and he indicated that we needed driveway profiles. We don't have an actual design for the properties as yet, as far as what's to be built. Mr. Jobin has no intention of developing it himself. He's just going to sell the lots. But we can certainly provide, a conceptual, just to prove the case that it works.
And these are elements that we would review when a building permit is filed. So whoever buys the lots, we will cross that bridge when we get to that point.
All right, and tell me a little bit about the desire for the waiver on soils. What's the rationale behind that?
I'd let the applicant address that.
I'm sorry?
The rationale for the soil waiver.
We just didn't feel the need to bring a soil scientist out there. We've got the soil, soil types from SCS. We've got test pits that verify those soil types, and there's not even any wetlands on the property at all. We had a wetland scientist flag it or go out there to inspect it.
This is a fairly common waiver that we grant in these
No,
scenarios.
just asking, yep. I'm a little sensitive to wetlands at the moment, so make sure there's no issues. Okay, okay, looks pretty straightforward. Questions from the board?
Is the future of the red barn, which has been,
Well, that's, the barn is gonna be on one of these divided lots.
Right.
And my desire as a relative of the Murray clan is to make sure that that barn gets saved and restored, and I have people that are interested in doing just that. So the first part was to get the subdivision done, and the building lot will be sold, but the barn is gonna be a project.
okay,
But it's on its own lot, and we have no desire to see it go away. It's a family heirloom, and we wanna see it stay where it is.
That's good news.
thank you for the reassurance.
Earl, did I see your hand up?
Yes, but I like that landmark when I
Yeah. it's right
make
at
that
V,
corner.
right
Once
at
I go
V.
past the red barn, I know I missed my turn. The, perhaps it's too early to ask regarding power to the sites. Would that come up during building permits?
Well, we always request that applicants put a note on the plan stating that all utilities from the street to the house be installed underground. That's pretty standard. We haven't received a waiver request for that. If, when the lots are sold and the developer wishes to pursue a waiver, we can address it at that time. But in this case, the owner isn't planning to develop them himself, so again, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
And follow-up,
Yeah.
and currently the power runs on which side of Blackwater Road?
don't have that answer off the top of my head. I can consult the plans.
Let's see, it's on the left side, I think. It might start on the right and then come across someplace. So I think I think it's past the barn, it's on the left side, toward Webster. I think it's on the left side. On the side where the building lot would be.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Any member of the audience have any questions or concerns regarding this application? No? Okay, we'll close the public hearing. Any other comments from staff?
None.
Okay, so in your packet, we've got a waiver request under 4.1 to grant the waiver from section 1203.8 soils for the subdivision regulations. Would someone like to make a motion to grant that waiver as outlined?
I move to grant that waiver.
Second.
All right, motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. 4.2 is to grant minor subdivision approval for the lot line adjustment and a two-lot subdivision at Blackwater Road and Warner Road, subject to the following precedent conditions, and those are, and subsequent conditions, and those are outlined in precedent conditions 1 through 5, and subsequent conditions 1A, 1 and 1A and 1B. Would someone like to make a motion to grant that minor subdivision approval as outlined?
So moved.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Thank you very much. You're all set. Good luck.
Thank you.
Looking forward to seeing what happens with that barn, Mr. Jobin.
Well, I mean, me too.
Good luck. Good luck. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on in our rapidly moving agenda here. As soon as I say that, I'll knock on some wood.
I know.
Item 7C, if we could read that into the record.
Michael Chapman requests minor site plan approval to add a third unit in an existing duplex at 27 Fayette Street in the downtown residential district. Staff recommends the application be determined complete, not a development of regional impact, and to open the public hearing.
Okay, so we have a determination of completeness component. The development is not a development of regional impact. Would someone like to make a motion to determine the application complete and open the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Of regional impact and open the public hearing. Motion's made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. We get a quick staff update on this if we could.
Sure. So the project is to, this is currently a 2-unit condominium, 2 separate condos, 2 separate owners. The second floor and I believe the third floor would be turned into a second unit within that second condo. So we're talking 3 units total within a 2 condominium building. A 2-unit to a 3-unit, to keep it simple. You'll notice, I believe, that some of the project details on the first page are incorrect. These have been a holdover from another project, but all the staff comments pertain to this project. This is kind of an interesting case. It's a tight lot. It does have a 0 lot line with the abutter, which they share a driveway. Because of the layout of the lot, it would be difficult for anyone who pulls into the lot and parks in one of the southerly parking spaces to navigate out of the lot without backing onto...
Difficult. It would be just about impossible.
Yes.
Okay.
But anything is possible if you put your mind to it. However, our regulations do require that without excessive movements, someone be able to head first out of a lot without backing into a street. We prohibit backing onto a street. So I've been working with the applicant to develop some sort of either an agreement or an easement. We want something that is permanent with the neighbor to allow, it would be like a reciprocal access easement to allow both property owners to back onto each other's lots to be able to leave their respective sides of the driveway head first. The applicant has indicated that the neighbor is not necessarily interested in that at this time. However, he could pursue variance relief, which he has received for a number of other items, so that may be an option in the future. We are comfortable granting conditional approval, subject to either the signing of an access easement or seeking variance relief. There are other staff comments. We do need lot coverage calculations. This is a pretty crowded lot. We may be exceeding as he is adding additional pavement, so that may be something to look at in the future, but we do need that calculation provided by the surveyor so that we can be certain of that.
So it seems to me that we're a little putting the cart before the horse on this a little bit. I'm hesitant on the relief as far as the variance goes, because I'm not in favor at all of putting in a plan that allows you to back into the street. What's the, well, we'll ask the applicant, but there's two options on approval. The issues aren't with the building or the design of the structure or the condo or the access or 3 units versus 2.
Right.
It's truly a parking issue, and that's the issue that's kind of in stickling point right now.
Yes.
There's 2 options, of variance or an easement that allows them to move into the other property, or a variance that allows them to back into the street.
Correct, yeah, the easement would be reciprocal, they'd be able to cross, which I understand is practice right now, though, because this is going through the process, it needs to be formalized, so that's what this easement would do.
Okay. Welcome to the table. If you could state your name for the record?
Yes, hi, good evening. Michael Chapman. I'm the owner of Unit 2 at 27 Fayette Street.
Okay. So you heard us chit-chatting back and forth. Anything you want to add to that?
Well, it works now, and I think the major game changer is adding the ADA spot for the van. It extends the driveway 8 feet beyond where it is now, and it puts it kind of to the corner of the garage, so it does limit some space for turnaround. The way they're using it now, it works, but like I said, once you push the parking back that way, I thought maybe I could go back to zoning, seeking variances. Is there a way to seek a variance on the ADA parking spot?
You could ask, but that's
Yeah, well, the thing with that
a lightning
is,
rod.
it's for a van, but if someone's in a wheelchair, they're not gonna be able to get into the building anyway because there's steps leading up to the door. So I'm not sure how, in this situation, that it'll be beneficial.
Pictures help. So you know, pictures of the property, pictures of the entrance to the building.
Okay.
The requirement for the ADA piece is, again, it's one that's,
No, I
you can ask
understand.
for it, but again, sometimes when you get to that third piece, that's where it clicks in, right?
Yeah, I will just add that he did attempt to receive a variance from the ADA portion, however was denied. I suppose that you could pursue a variance to not provide a van space, but rather a typical access, where the difference is our regulations require that whenever you have one ADA space, it must be van accessible, which requires an 8-foot access aisle versus a 5-foot. So this lot is, it is a matter of inches, and 3 feet would make quite a difference. However, would that relieve the issue of someone having to back around a shed? It's hard to say.
Okay. You may have better luck, I don't want to speak for the DBA, but you may have better luck approaching it that way, looking at the plan, saying you can put a car, regular ADA
That
accessible
would
spot
work.
in.
That was how I left zoning when I first got the variances, but that was my understanding, that we'd use a car spot.
Yeah.
Because I got a variance for 5 spaces, and essentially the van spot is another 8 feet, which brings us really to 6 spaces.
You got a variance for 5 spaces on this lot?
When 6 are required, so it's only down one.
Okay. Because of the 3 units, okay. So I say, there's no way you can put 6 spots on that lot. Okay, so, yes, Heather.
I just wanted to, if you look at the plan, you'll see that the property line is basically down the middle of,
Down the middle of the driveway.
yeah, and that now both properties are moving freely across that property line.
Yeah.
So while he may be able to get a variance to allow him to back into the driveway, it's unlikely that they'll continue using it the way that they are, I'm assuming, which is using the whole thing as if it's one parking lot. It's unclear why the neighbor doesn't want to, wasn't amenable to the easement at first, but whether he gets a 3rd unit or not is not going to change the way the property is being used for parking.
And what is the easement gonna add? A little bump out here at the
It
top
just-
area
it
to allow you
basic-
to turn around?
No, it just gives both of them legal permission to use each other's property.
Isn't that already implied with the driveway that's
Nope.
there now? It's not.
No. One of them could technically put
A fence across it.
exactly.
one of them being the Mr. NATO on the other side.
It's my understanding the property owner is not against them continuing to use. Is this true? The neighbor doesn't mind that you both continue to use the property? He just doesn't want to sign anything?
We actually signed a little agreement between the two of us thinking that that would be good, but it wasn't detailed
See,
enough.
they've got an easement already.
They got an easement already. Well, let it be written.
I wish it were that easy.
Bring that to court. So before us, again, I don't think, I won't speak for the board, and I'll let them talk in a sec, but I didn't have any problems with the application per se. It was the parking. So if we approved it, we'd approve it with the stipulation that you either get a variance to do what you're supposed to do, or you get an easement from your neighbor.
Okay.
Right?
That's correct.
Shake their head, okay? All right, we all up to speed, Suzanne?
I just have a question. I noticed when I was looking through the project summary sheet that it says proposed use 4 units.
That's what I started with the outset, that
Okay,
those
but
are
that's-
carryover comments, those are incorrect.
Okay, I was just wondering if eventually there might be 4, but no. Okay, that's it.
You never know.
I see your hand, Matt. Nope. Nope, okay, any other questions from the board?
I didn't raise it at least.
You didn't, I thought you
Right
kind of.
here.
You member of the audience have any questions or concerns regarding this application? Nope. Okay, we'll close the public hearing, and I will make a motion to say that, oh, look at all these recommendations. So 4.1 is to grant minor site plan approval. Sam, help me out here. Is the language in here regarding the plan, the parking,
So
as a condition?
the first
or-
comment under precedent conditions is address all review comments.
Yep.
The parking and lot coverage, all that is in 3.1 through 3.9. That first precedent condition covers all that. They have to
Okay.
meet all of those and address all of those comments as a precedent condition.
Okay. So I'll make a motion to grant minor site plan approval as outlined with precedent conditions 1, or says A, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and subsequent conditions 1, 2, and 3, and again, addressing the parking issues will be the concern. So I'll make that motion. Someone like to second it?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries, so good luck.
All right, great, thanks a
Back.
lot.
Like I said, pictures help.
Okay. All
You
right.
know, of the lot, from the street, in the area that you're gonna
Yeah,
build.
I can look down on it and see.
Yeah, but I mean, the fact is you already got a driveway there, and all you're looking for is just the ability to kind of, both of you use it, I think will help ZBA, and especially the ADA compliant parking spot, not the van spot. If you can get some relief on that, I think that'll
Right,
help as well.
yeah, I think that's what's pushing
Okay.
us over.
Good luck, Mr.
All
Chapman.
right, thank you very much.
All right, all right, brings us on to item 7D in our agenda. Could we read that into the record?
Daniel Chrisman and Amber Brooks are requesting an amendment to conditions of a previously approved minor subdivision regarding a shared driveway at 35 Hot Hole Pond Road in the Open Space Residential District.
Excuse me.
May I have a staff update?
All right, we have determination of completeness.
No,
and-
this is just an amendment.
Oh, I'm sorry, okay. If we could get a quick staff update?
I don't know if I can, no. So they came before you last year for an amendment to a previously approved subdivision plan for the driveway alignment. And they are now requesting to go back to the original alignment of the driveway for reasons I believe Mr. Chrisman will speak to. But just to be clear, they're not requesting that the amendment from last year be rescinded. They still want to keep those same conditions of the approval from last year, which allows them to reduce the driveway width from 22 feet to 15 feet, and also to not pave the entire width of the shared portion. They will pave only the apron, which is required for the city's construction standards, and then the rest will be gravel. So this is just for the realignment. It's not, or returning to the original alignment. It's not for all of the same conditions of the driveway that were part of the 2007 subdivision. I can explain more if you want.
No,
with
we don't, that's
images,
good. We'll welcome you to the table. If you could state your name for the record?
Hi, I'm Mark Chrisman. I'm speaking on behalf of Daniel Chrisman and Amber Brooks, the property owners.
Okay, welcome to the table. If you could tell us a little bit about this
Well, it's basically the amendment that was approved last April 21st. There were points in there about the widening, the paving, and the gravels and everything. There was also a part of it extending the shared portion of the driveway. We just want to back out that part of it. We don't want to extend the shared portion of the driveway. We want to go back to the original approved alignment of it was back, I think, in 2008 was the approval of the original subdivision. I think I sent over a drawing that you might.
Yeah, they, not that one, that was one that I had given to you, that you had drawn one.
Right.
Different one that they have in their packet. I can pull it up on the screen.
Is it in the supplement? It's not in the supplement, because that's all
No, it's one of the plans on
Plans?
there. Yep.
proposed or 2021 alignment?
The proposed. So this is the original subdivision plan, the alignment from the original subdivision. So they're requesting to go back to this alignment.
So,
And just the alignment, I'm sorry.
There's a planar plan.
help me out here, Beth, stay right there. So, stay, or, no, you're, I didn't mean to say it that way, but, so Pothole Pond is way down at the bottom of this, right, yeah. Pothole Pond Road is way down at the bottom of the plan. You come up to, looks like a hammerhead at the top, and then that's all existing? That's already there?
Nope.
Nothing's there.
No, there is an existing gravel driveway. So it does exist coming up, and then it kind of comes up right here, and then goes to the Griffin's house right here.
So that's an existing house that's already there, and the
This is
new,
existing, yeah,
the new development is over to the right.
and this is proposed. So this is the portion that in 2008, the planning board required that it be 22-foot wide paved. And that was last year, and this is the shared portion for these two houses. Last year, you granted approval to reduce that to, I think it was 14 to 15 feet in width, gravel with only the paved apron, and that was consistent with the neighborhood. And since Hot Hole Pond Road is only 18 feet wide, it was crazy to make them do a driveway more robust than the road itself. So this will remain gravel. And then last year, the amendment just continued this shared portion using the existing alignment right here and going right to the Griffin's parking area and then breaking off there and then continuing there.
Okay.
So what the Chrismans are requesting is to instead go back to this where they break off earlier from the shared portion here and then go onto their property, and then the Griffins will have to construct a new driveway here. And that'll be separate, so they'll only share to this one right here. This will be shared and then it's separate. This is what the driveway easement on record is.
That's on record now.
Yeah, with the registry of deeds. There was a condition that a revised easement be recorded prior to the certificate of occupancy for this house. And they haven't even started construction yet, so that easement has not been recorded.
Okay.
That would show the 2021 alignment.
So the only driveway that's there now is a gravel driveway that it accesses the existing house on Lot 2.
Correct, and they may have
There's
extended
a temporary construction entrance that breaks off right at,
if you just hit that little red.
okay. Right there, there's a temporary construction entrance that breaks off to the lot and goes over here.
Okay.
So it basically comes up here, and then there's a temporary entrance over to the lot here.
Okay. Okay. Any questions for Mr. Chrisman? Merle?
From that temporary cutover, the rest of that driveway is not built?
No, no,
Okay,
it's not.
all right, thank you.
No.
I see any other hands? No? Any member of the audience wish to address this application?
I wish to address this application.
Okay, come on up. You step back, sir. Thank you.
I'm Walter Griffin. My wife and I own 31 Hot Hole Pond Road.
Okay, welcome to the table.
Thank you. Hi, Beth. Thank you for your help in recent weeks and for putting up with all my emails. I appreciate it. Did you receive the one I sent this morning?
I did, yes, and I passed it on to the board.
Okay. So again, if anyone has not read my email of this morning, please do so now, because that's essential to what I'm about to say. And while you're reading that, I will pass out a sketch that will help make understandable the things I'm about to say.
I have a copy of that email if anybody,
Oh, we got it in the packet, so everybody's read it.
Okay, great.
no, this was a new email.
From this morning?
Yes, it's extremely important. It summarizes my position on this matter.
Do you want me to make multiple copies?
And it's all stuff I've shared with the Christmas before.
I think it's
many
similar to
times.
what you've already received.
Okay, well, why don't you, can you summarize it for us? I don't want to sit here
Sure,
and read it.
I will do that. And I think there's enough sketches for, I'll keep one, for every other person to have one. You can take one and pass them around. So you may have to look on. And I guess I can when you have those sketches, I will tell you what's what.
Able to have a copy of one of those as well?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, why don't we give, again, as I wrote on here, it's an extremely rough sketch, just trying to illustrate what we're dealing with. And once we get some things clear, then we'll go to that map that has so much information that it can actually be a little confusing. So on the sketch, you can see that about in the center, the upper portion is the letter D that points down to where the Chrisman's private driveway begins. And as per my email, this is a driveway that's about 90% complete. It readily handled the enormous weight of logging trucks last summer, readily handled the enormous weight of fully loaded cement trucks that came in to pour the foundation. This is a driveway that's 90% complete, and the swath that was cleared for it is 61 feet long and averages 32 feet wide. It's a huge swath of forest that was removed to build this very serviceable driveway that goes from the existing driveway that's been there for 31 years over to their lot. You can see where the property line is, and between D and the property line is their private driveway. It goes directly to a very, very large cleared area that they have in front of their house. So you can see that. So from Hot Hole Pond Road, the driveway is about a little over 200 yards long, an eighth of a mile long. Goes from Hot Hole Pond Road all the way to the Chrisman's house site. Continuous driveway. Along the way, about 2/3 or 3/4 of the way along, we go over a culvert, over wetland. And so they propose to unshare the north 1/3 or 1/4 of the driveway, and they will still have the lower 2/3 or 3/4 shared. So I don't understand why they want to unshare that north 1/4. If there's some problem with sharing, then we need to resolve that problem. Unsharing this northern 1/4 doesn't solve anything. You can see where my house is in front of my garage. There's a 30 by 30 foot area, and connects entirely to the existing driveway there. Let me see. Letter B is a very rough idea of the new driveway. That if we go back to the plan of 2008, 14 years ago, what they want to do is instead of using their existing private driveway, they want to build another private driveway on my property, tear down a huge amount of forest, and build number B driveway from the existing driveway over to their lot. I think I've got this a little longer than it would actually be, but it would be longer than the private driveway they have now. Also, what they want to do is letter C. They want to force me to destroy most of my front lawn and build a driveway there. And both of these proposed driveways are completely unnecessary because from the culvert to where their private driveway begins is a driveway that already meets the city requirements for a shared driveway. Actually, it exceeds them. The city requirements, when the 5 of us were out on the property last year improving the old plan, we agreed that we would share the driveway from the culvert all the way to where their private driveway begins, because it's so much more economical than building 2 duplicate parallel driveways when we already have a driveway that meets the requirements. And the city engineer and the fire marshal told us, yes, minimum requirement for width should be 12 feet. You can certainly make it wider, but as long as it's 12 feet, the fire trucks can get in there just fine. And the depth that they require is 18 inches of good driveway material for construction. This driveway has at least 2 feet of good driveway material in it that was exposed when excavation was done to put utility lines beneath it. Let me see, there's one other thing here. Yeah, letter A shows where their private driveway is. So I will turn to my email of this morning. I'll start with, again, when I was out there a year ago, March, with Mark and Dan and Amber and the fire marshal and the city engineer and their realtor, we all enthusiastically agreed, yes, what we want to do is not build those duplicate parallel unnecessary driveways that start in the wetland.
Sit down, please.
That start in the wetland, or actually right next to it in the buffer zone. Instead, let's use the existing driveway, let's share that. We cut our maintenance and snow plowing expenses in half by sharing it instead of having 2 separate driveways. We avoid destroying another big swath of forest and my front lawn, preserving the environment in this conservation zone. So we all enthusiastically agreed, and the board enthusiastically approved sharing of this driveway from the culvert to where their private driveway begins, because it makes so much sense, saves thousands of dollars for both owners of both lots, saves a lot of environment, which is something that the board was very keen on because of all the wetland in this area, on every lot in this area. So the bad reason why this bad idea occurred in the first place of having 2 nearly parallel gravel driveways from the culvert up to their lot line was because, as mentioned, back in 2008, the board required that the driveway on this property be expanded to be 22 feet wide. As pointed out, Hot Hole Pond Road itself is only 18 feet wide. That 22 feet would be wider than most roads and streets in Concord. And they also required that it be paved. There's lots of roads in New Hampshire, including some in Concord, that are not paved, that are gravel, that work just fine. And in fact, back in 2008, when this plan was required by the board, Hot Hole Pond Road itself turned to gravel half a mile north of my driveway. That was recently paved, but back when that plan was approved, they were insisting I have a paved driveway connecting to a road that turned into a gravel driveway. Now, my engineer and my surveying company were looking at number 4 here on the thing, wanted to try to save me a few dollars. So they said, well, Walt, instead of paving, making a 22-foot wide driveway continuing from the culvert all the way to their lot line, why don't we instead have 2 nearly parallel gravel driveways? That'll be a little less expensive than having one that's 22 feet wide and paved. So instead of 22 feet wide, paved and shared, we're going to have 2 driveways, gravel, narrower, parallel, and that'll be a little less expensive for you and whoever buys the lot you're subdividing. It was a bad solution to a bad feature of a bad plan to start with, and it would be a huge mistake to try to return to that bad feature. In consulting with my attorney, and you can tell me if you disagree, I'll go to number one. Or let me confirm just some of what I've said. This threat by Dan, Amber, and Mark to unshare the north 1/3 of our existing shared driveway means they would destroy another large swath of my forest, build an unnecessary driveway there, destroy most of my front lawn, force me to pay thousands of dollars to build an unnecessary driveway there, force all of us to unnecessarily lose thousands of dollars because we would no longer be able to share maintenance. We would each have to cover all the maintenance and snow plowing for our own separate driveways. And the beginnings of both of these unnecessary driveways are in the wetland buffer zones. Now, it is illegal for them to make any changes on my land without my permission, according to my attorney, especially the destructive changes they are threatening to do. I will never give permission for those changes, therefore those changes would be illegal and they cannot occur. Secondly, we have a current, excellent, legally binding plan that we all created together 1 year ago, and it was approved by the board on April 21st, 2021, almost a year ago to the day. To change any aspect of this plan without my permission would be illegal. I will not agree to the changes they want, and so therefore those changes would be illegal and should not occur. Finally, site conditions have changed drastically, and one change is too expensive to restore. The private driveway that they built that goes from close to the top of my garage area where the shared driveway ends over to their property line. Again, the swath there is 61 feet long and 32 feet wide. That driveway is very serviceable. I'd say it's 90% done because of the heavy trucks that it's handled. Now, if they are going to build a second private driveway starting in the wetland zone, buffer zone, excuse me, what are they going to do with this private driveway that they've already built, that already destroyed a big chunk of my forest to build? Well, the answer is they're going to wind up with two private driveways, because to restore the forest to where they built their private driveway would be prohibitively expensive. Nobody's going to spend $20,000 or $30,000 to bring in a bunch of big trees, restore the forest to the way it was, which was beautiful. And so I don't think they're going to want to spend $20,000 or $30,000 to do that. So why do we need two private driveways? Or even if they do, still, you know, we've destroyed a second large swath of forest for nothing. So they've got this site condition changed. The site condition change also inhibits going back to this bad idea from a bad plan of having two separate gravel driveways from the culvert to their property line. Their paragraph 2 means they threaten to abandon a very serviceable driveway that meets the qualifications for the shared driveway. It's been there for 31 years.
I got to interrupt you just for a sec. So we've heard repeatedly the same thing.
Okay.
What's the end result, obviously, is that you think it's a serviceable driveway, they don't. Why don't they think it's a serviceable driveway?
I don't know why, but they're trying to use that as an excuse to go back to these two separate driveways beyond the culvert. I don't know why they want to do that. I've asked them 4 times over the last 8 months to tell me why they want to do that. I believe I know why, but in service to them, I won't say that unless we have to.
Yep.
So for these 4 reasons and more, please tell Dan, Amber, and Mark they need to stay with our current, excellent, legally binding plan approved 4/21/2021, which saves all of us thousands of dollars, saves 2 large pieces of land, part of which are in the wetland buffer zones, here in this conservation zone that these properties are in. And other than their threat to do this terrible thing to me and my bank account and to the land, we get along fine. So if they would drop this threat, we'd get along even better and things would be fine. We've successfully shared the driveway the past year plus a month, and Mark and I readily shared getting our $30 apiece to the plow guy they asked me to find. We've had minor disagreements that we quickly and easily resolved. So I don't understand why they want to do what they say they want to do, but it's a moot point. It cannot be done, and I will fight to the death to prevent them from destroying my property and forcing me to pay thousands of dollars. And so I ask that you instruct them to do the reasonable and wise thing and stick with the current plan, not try to go back to a bad feature of a bad plan from 14 years ago.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions from Mr. Griffin? Councilor Pierce.
Thank you. And Mr. Goodman, just for clarification, as I look at the map, not yours, but the map of the plan, your house and driveway has been there for 31 years.
Yep, the section below the culvert that goes down to Hot Hole Pond Road was built 14 years ago.
Okay.
After we subdivided the property, and the section from the culvert up to where Mark's private driveway begins, that section's been there all 31 years that my wife and I have lived in the house, and when we bought the house, it was 10 years old.
So just so I get it straight in my mind, you've had your driveway on your land from Hot Hole Pond Road to your home for a number of years, and you've been responsible for the maintenance of that.
Absolutely.
And then along come the Chrismans and want to build and reach an agreement with you, and they're sharing costs of the maintenance of the road from where they shoot off and down?
Let me clarify that when we moved in 31 years ago, our driveway went straight from the culvert straight down to Hot Hole Pond Road, basically through the two composite squares that I've drawn in the lower half of this sketch.
Gotcha.
Okay? When my wife and I, as we had originally planned to do, subdivided our 8.5 acres into 3 lots with a little over 200 feet frontage for each one, about 2.5 acres on average for each lot. Christmas lot is actually 3.38 acres, 3.38 acres. Obviously, because we sold the lot to the folks in front who built a house there, when we moved in there was no house there. So we had to move the driveway over to the right side of this sketch. So, because they had to put their house there in order for the subdivision to work. Again, there's a lot of wetland on all 3 properties that were in the subdivision. That's why the plan is somewhat convoluted.
Okay, thank you. You've answered my question.
Okay.
Any other questions? Suzanne?
So, to get to their house, your neighbors, they have to cross your land?
Yes. And the deed, we sold their lot to someone before them in December of 2009. And in that deed, it makes very clear that the owners of Lot 31, me and my wife, and the owners of Lot 35, Dan and Amber, we will share equally in the cost of maintaining and snow plowing the driveway that we share. And that driveway goes from Hot Hole Pond Road up to where their private driveway begins, at letter D.
So my next question is, after you met and they proceeded to start the house with the foundation and the trucks, they followed the path that you had agreed on to get to their house?
Yes. And I maintain that by building their private driveway where they have built it last summer, they made an irrevocable commitment to having their driveway there and to sharing our driveway from the culvert to their to where their private driveway begins. That's an irrevocable commitment because it's prohibitively expensive to correct it, to restore it to quality.
Okay. Carol?
So, at the southern end of this driveway, there's what appears to be a hammerhead that points to the west. Is there an intent for that to be part of a driveway that goes to another lot to the west, or what's the story with that?
It's that I'm not good at drawing. That's the story.
No, I'm talking about
Printed-
the
on the printed
engineering
engineering
plan, not your
The one that was
sketch.
on the screen.
I can answer that. That was a hammerhead turnaround for a fire.
Okay,
It was not intended for future, it was just for a turnaround for fire equipment.
okay, thank you. So, does this, may I do a
Yep.
follow-up? Does this driveway the shared part of the driveway from your two more northern houses cross the property of the new house
In
nearest
part,
the
yes, it
road?
does.
Okay.
Yeah, where those houses are is lot 29, Aaron and Cara. The next lot over is mine and Christine's, lot 31. And then the Christman's further to the right is lot 35.
Okay, thank you.
Obviously, they didn't all fit on my little sketch here.
So I'd asked you a question before knowing the answer, and I want to just recognize that the planning board received April 15th, a letter from Orrin Reno addressed to the city planner regarding this Daniel Chrisman and Amber Brooks property. I'm going to read it into the record, and I want to have you just give us a couple of comments on it. I'm writing, this is written on behalf of James LeBeau, who's an attorney at Orrin Reno. I'm writing on behalf of Daniel Chrisman and Amber Brooks in support of their request to nullify the April 21st, 2021 subdivision amendment and revert back to the subdivision plan approved by this board on January 17th, 2008. The reasons for this request are quite compelling and worth careful consideration. Daniel Chrisman and Amber Brooks are a young couple who purchased a lot at 35 Hut Hole Pond Road, upon which they're building their first home. As with most couples, Dan and Amber have a finite amount of funds which to build their first home. They bought Lot 35 in reliance upon the subdivision plan created by Holden Engineering and Survey dated November 20th, 2007 and approved by this board January 17th, 2008. The funding for this project, which includes site work and design, specifically took into account the parameters dictated in the January 17th, 2008 plan. In February 2021, and while they were preparing to clear Lot 35, Daniel and Amber were approached by their new neighbor, Walter Griffin, who lives at 31 Hot Hole Pond Road. Mr. Griffin had a proposal, quote, "If you file an amended subdivision, I will pay 50% of the cost." Mr. Griffin laid out his proposal, which for the most part became Daniel and Amber's March 12th, 2021 application to the planning board. To be clear, Daniel and Amber would not have committed themselves to confined themselves to the parameters of the set forth amended subdivision, but for Mr. Griffin's offer to pay 50% of the cost. After filing their application, Mr. Griffin announced that he would not honor this offer to pay 50% of the costs. Attached hereunto is an email that's sent by Daniel and Amber captioned "An apology for an error," where Mr. Griffin states, "I apologize, I neglected to check with my wife Christine before offering to share half the cost of the driveway topping. Please forgive my mistake of proposing help, and I cannot deliver on, see attached," and it is attached. The planning board then approved the amended subdivision on April 21st, 2021. At the time, Daniel and Amber did not realize that they would be prevented from deviating from the amended subdivision. They erroneously thought it was optional. In short, they were duped, and that's his words. Because of Mr. Griffin's duplicity, Daniel and Amber cannot afford to pay 100% of the cost proposed upon which they amended subdivision. Moreover, after careful consideration, they feel it is in their best interest to minimize the length of shared driveway with Mr. Griffin. Daniel and Amber asked for your help. They simply want the subdivision to revert back to the original plan approved by this board on January 16th, 2008, so they can finish their building of their first home. Thank you for your consideration, James LeBeau, Orrin Reno. So I'd like to address that, because that seems to be the elephant in the room as far as everything was kumbaya and now it's not.
Sure.
So that's the issue.
I believe with all my being, I did not say I would cover 50% of the cost. What I said to them was, gosh, you know, this driveway wouldn't hurt a bit to have more gravel on top. Maybe I help pay for the part that covers this 12-foot wide section we got here. It was that type of offer, but even that, my wife Chris said, well, I'm the breadwinner here, you shouldn't be making offers of money that you know, I'm bringing in, and I think she's right. And I also consulted with my attorney. And the other thing is that they're saying, oh, they want to revert to the old plan because they want to save money. And as I pointed out, they lose thousands in the coming decade by losing the opportunity to share a driveway from the culvert to where their private driveway begins. They're probably gonna pay at least $5,000 to build a new, slightly longer driveway than what they already have. And so, this statement they're trying to save money is a lie. They're obviously looking to take on more expenses. And so I will say this, about 8 months ago, on the property, Mark Christmas made very clear to me, if I did not pay them $1,000, they were gonna make this threat to do all this destruction, cause me expense, etc. Extortion threats are seldom explicit. I don't recall exactly what was said, but I got the very clear message. And where this stems from is I and my attorney emphatically agrees the right, fair, and proper way to handle costs here is that the existing driveway that I've provided, the upper third of which already meets the city requirements, I'm providing this driveway that I've maintained very, very well for 31 years on the north section, 14 years on the south section. We should share equally in in the value of this driveway. You can look at my cost plus inflation, or you can look what it currently costs to build this driveway, which is about $20,000, according to a fellow who builds driveways, told me. Now, the improvements the city wants to make probably cost about $5,000, maybe $6,000. And my attorney says, yup, you share the cost of the driveway that exists, and you share the cost of the improvements. And that's the right, fair, and legal way to do it. They don't like that. And so they said, no, we're not going to pay you a dime, and you pay us $1,000, or we're going to destroy your property and force you to pay thousands of dollars to build a driveway you don't need.
Okay.
That's what's going on here.
Well, we're not here to address legal issues or criminal issues or anything in the civil case. We're here to address the easement as it sits and the ability to either leave it in place or move it along. So I'm going to ask Mr. Crispin to come up. If you can take your stuff and step back, that would be great. Thank you for your testimony.
Yep. And again, as per the bottom of the letter, you know what I'm asking.
Absolutely. Thank you. I'm going to have you just address the matters. Well, you can address anything you want, but we're really concerned regarding what I read in the letter. That's my issue is where you were, where you're going, whether you want to save money or not. I don't care whether you know, however the process works. I think if you're splitting it off, why and what's the reason?
Okay, first, wow. Back up to way back when we were preparing to have the lot cleared. I went to Mr. Griffin to let him know that we were gonna have a tree guy come in and take down a bunch of trees on the lot and everything. And we talked about access to Dan and Amber's lot. And he was really nice about it, was great about it actually, and said, well, why don't you just go down here, which was adjacent to his, in front of his garage, that 30 by 30 area. There was already a slope there, and he said that would be a good access to that. And said that, he's happy to let you go down as a temporary entrance into there. And also, and I have it on emails, to take any trees that you need to get to the lot. Boy, had I known that he was gonna come back and demand that we restore, when I talk about trees, I'm talking about maybe one 8-inch tree and a handful or so of some little scrub oaks and maples and birches in there. Certainly nothing substantial. So we started the lot clearing, and he came up with this proposal to, well, let's extend the shared portion of the driveway. And I will, would be happy to pay for 50% of any, of the cost. So Dan and Amber took a look at that and said, well, let's look at it as an option. I mean, we certainly will look at it and everything. But never, did they ever fathom that they would be legally held to this amendment once it was approved. It was merely, and I don't think anybody really knew that that would be the binding layout after this thing was approved. I mean, we ended up having to consult with the city solicitor to find out that it was. So it was merely an option, and in the meantime, we could use sort of this new configuration to see if this is something that they would want to do. So, it was so many things that Mr. Griffin said that, anyways, so it started out, he said, go ahead and go in this way, take whatever trees you need, it's fine. Okay, so that was nice of him, and then it came to this new plan that we would, consider. We don't want to change materially anything that's already not been previously approved. We just don't want to be held to this extension of the shared driveway. I don't understand where he says that. I mean, his drawing is so out of scale. That temp driveway, which he maintains is 90% complete now, that temporary entrance, is nowhere near 90%. I mean, all of that material that's there needs to be excavated out of there, and new gravel base has to be put in there. We ended up spending, Dan and Amber ended up spending close to $2,000 to have somebody this spring come in and scrape the mud off of that and put in some temporary material just so we could drive in there. So that temporary entrance is nowhere near complete. That has to be completely rebuilt. The new portion of the driveway that would be constructed under the older plan is not any more, is not longer than what the temporary driveway is now. And this is the plan that they purchased when they purchased the property. This is the plan that was purchased.
And when you say this is the plan, it's the one on our plans, which has got the two.
Correct.
The two snaking.
Correct, and that's the plan, and that was the approved subdivision plan that allowed Mr. Griffin to sell the other two lots. And the existing driveway, his existing driveway, per his deed, by signing the subdivision approval, he was to abandon that driveway at that point. And that's right in his deed. And I can read that to you if you like. By signing this deed, Walter W. and Christine Griffin, for themselves and their heirs, successors, and assigns, forever release and terminate the prior existing driveway, which is shown on the plan as existing drive. So, he should have built his own driveway back when the subdivision was done. Probably more of a civil matter at this point, about cost and all. But Dan and Amber have taken into consideration what the costs are to build the separate driveway. fully prepared to build that separate driveway. It's not anywhere near the numbers that were just thrown around. The maintenance and upgrade of the shared portion of the driveway is a 50-50 thing. They're gonna take care of their own private driveway as far as snow removal and all. You know, they're not hiring that out for anybody, so there's no added expense to them as far as that goes. I don't know where this whole $1,000 thing came up. That's,
I have it on an email from you, Mark.
that's ridiculous.
I'll let you guys decide that
Yeah,
civilly.
yeah,
Civilly,
yeah,
that doesn't
that's,
have anything
you
to do
know,
with us.
That's ridiculous. And we do, all of us, the three of us, take exception to the word threaten and threat and everything that Mr. Griffin threw around. There were never threats. There was only indecision about which configuration that they wanted to ultimately go with.
Okay, so ideally, your solution on this is to revert back to the plan prior to the amendment that was done in 2021, whatever the date was.
Right, and just back out the portion of the extending the shared driveway and go back to the original configuration as originally approved.
Okay. Great. I'm gonna go from there. You have any other?
I don't think there's anything else other than that. It's pretty straightforward on our part. You know, it was a previously approved plan. We're not looking to deviate from that, other than just backing out the extended portion of shared driveway.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Chrisman? Yes.
So, was the applicant the one that came back and switched it? Your
Okay,
Amber and Dan?
yeah,
So they were
when you say
here-
when they switched it,
Yeah, when somebody had to bring this change to the planning board.
yes, we did bring,
Okay,
we
so-
did bring the change as merely an option. We didn't know at the time how long it took to get through planning. So we said, well, if we're gonna look at this as an option, let's do it sooner better than later, in case it takes months and months and months.
Well, and you would, I mean, I guess that's fine, but the only way they can get to their house is through Mr. Griffin's property.
Right, which is an easement, an easement.
Right, so if you decided that and I'm looking at this as like the property that you use to access the construction of the house,
Yes,
I would guess that it might have followed the way that they had revised it to go.
yes.
So if this ever were
It was-
going back, you would have to restore it,
Absolutely.
like forest.
It would be what it was. And, it was a few, like I say, a few scrub trees, and we would redo the contours like it was and
Plant it.
put some loam down there and whatever it took to restore it. Like, I mean, I can't restore an 8-inch tree.
Right,
But
well, see, I guess,
I can plant a maple tree that will grow into an 8-inch tree.
so you don't consider from the Hot Hole Pond Road to the spur
Yeah.
as being shared driveway?
That is the shared portion of the driveway. Okay, from Hot Hole Pond Road to that turnaround.
Right, that's all the way
Yeah,
up to where,
That's the shared portion, that's the only part of the shared portion of the driveway that we ever wanted, and that's what we purchased.
Is that, Matt?
I have a question. So I'm a little confused as to why you thought you could deviate from the amended agreement. Right, so you made a statement, something about you didn't know you were going to be restricted to that.
yeah.
I don't understand that because you came before the planning board.
We came before the planning board to see if they would approve another configuration,
Which
okay, to have that as an option.
we did.
Exactly. And so we said, okay.
But you didn't really want us to approve, you just want to see if we would approve it?
We didn't know at that point whether or not it was even a viable option. So we had to come before planning to see if it was a viable option. And you said, yes, it was.
So I just need some clarification from staff, because they wouldn't have sent it to us unless you wanted this to be approved. If it was just a conversation, it wouldn't come before us for approval.
My impression of what he is saying is that he thought when you approved it, that now they had two approved options. The original one and the new one that you approved.
Correct.
Not
Oh,
that,
okay.
they didn't understand that the second replaced the first.
Okay, so
That makes a lot.
Thank you for that. That's
That
what I
makes
should have
sense.
said.
Makes more logical sense than what was said before, I got you.
Thank you.
I wasn't sure where you were going.
thank you, Heather.
Any questions from the board? Suzanne?
How does the infringement on the buffer come into play?
Is it within the I thought it was outside of the buffer.
That was approved before. That's the whole crux of this, is,
Right, but then it was disapproved and a new one was picked, so then you would be going back to something that now is probably not allowed
Right.
without more scrutiny.
I don't think we thought that we were under the understanding that anything affect,
I don't know, I just heard about it encroaching on the buffer or was part of the wetlands.
Oh, I don't,
Wouldn't have.
I think it's outside of the wetland
I
buffer.
didn't see any
it's not
buffer.
in the buffer.
Yeah,
It's
it's
okay. I
adjacent
thought
to
it
the
said it was-
buffer. Yeah, so there's a conservation easement on the property, and that extends to the edge of the wetland buffer, and it's outside of the easement area. So the 2008 approved alignment, which they're trying to go back to, is outside of the buffer.
Well, I mean, I think just looking at it, the revised plan seems to me to cause less destruction in the open space, and it seems to be more logical, and I think makes a lot more sense. Just,
We'll save that for discussion.
Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Chrisman? Thank you very much for your testimony. If you could step back. Mr. Griffin, I gotta put a short leash on you, but I'll give you a minute to come back up here if you can be quick.
Most of what Mark said is wrong, incorrect, and confusing, just confuses the issue. What happened, as I said, a year ago March, 13 months ago, Mark, Dan, Amber, and I stood out in that driveway with the city fire marshal, the city engineer, and their realtor. And they were looking at the previous plan, and I said, I have an idea. We could all save a lot of money if instead of building two separate driveways, why don't we share this existing driveway that we're standing on? And again, we subsequently found that it already meets the requirements for a shared driveway. And they said, gosh, that's great. We don't have to build a separate driveway. We've already got one here. And then and then I said, and instead of going through the woods, past the wellhead and around to get to your property, you could cut off from the top of, where the driveway meets my garage area. It would be shorter and more direct. And they said, yeah, that would save us some money too. And so we all enthusiastically agreed, yeah. And the fire marshal and the city engineer said, yeah, it saves you a lot of money, saves environment, and you have one driveway instead of two. It makes all the sense in the world. And so we came to the board with that idea, and they also enthusiastically approved this plan that I've just described on April 21st last year. This is the approved plan because it makes a lot more sense than the previous one. It's better for the environment, it's better for our finances for both lot owners, and the board also saw it and approved it. So that is the legally binding plan. We share the driveway from the culvert to where their private driveway begins. And just as we share from Hot Hole Pond Road to the culvert, we share that whole 200-plus yard length. And that way, instead of both paying for plowing and maintenance on a driveway, our costs are cut in half. And on a 200-yard driveway, that's substantial. Now, as he said, on their own private driveway, maybe they're going to plow that themselves and they don't have any cost. We're not talking about their private driveway. And If they stay with the current plan, then they don't have to restore forest to where their current driveway is. And I take issue with Mark. Twice they've had loads of driveway material poured into that private driveway of theirs. And again, last summer, fully loading logging trucks easily came up on that. Fully loaded cement trucks came in to pour their foundation.
We've heard all that.
Yeah,
I'm
but
sorry.
he's saying the driveway isn't good or isn't finished. It's 90% there.
Well,
And
It's
so
not for us to decide.
why do they want to abandon a good driveway, destroy huge swaths of property to build two parallel unnecessary driveways at expense? And it just, the reason is, in my opinion, because I understood from Mark, if I didn't pay him $1,000 towards the
I don't want to
improvements,
get into that
then
again,
they were
sir.
going to do
I'm
these
sorry.
damages to me
Okay.
and my property.
We're going to close the public hearing. Thank you very much for your testimony.
And that's why they want to do what they want to do.
Okay, that's fine.
They want to make good on their threat.
Okay. So, any other updates from staff?
I just want to, so I was there, it was not the realtor, it was me, the other person that was at the site. We supported the revised agenda. It wasn't that we were out there to give them what, I think the most enthusiastic part of was the reduction in the size of the driveway and then not the paving. And they said what they wanted to do and we supported it. So I just want to make sure that I don't want it to be before you that you think staff was out there and said, yeah, this is the best option. This is what they were proposing. We're out there to make sure it would actually work from an engineering and a fire perspective. So I just wanted to make that clear, that it was not us out there saying this is what you should do. It was, this is what you want to do. Yes, we support it, and then go to the planning board.
Okay, great. Thank you. Earl, Counselor.
For staff, a history lesson, please. Have we ever done anything like this before? I've been here for 4 years and have not noticed that we've gone back on an approval.
On a shared driveway, probably not, but I know we've gone back on a few other ones as well, for different matters, whether it's adjustments or different things that we've done in the past. Not for mistakes, but for, we thought we were gonna do this, and now we're not gonna do this.
Okay.
Exit 17.
What's that?
Exit 17.
Exit 17, yeah.
But then not going back.
But then not going back again.
Right.
Right.
So what's the board's appetite on this issue? Matt?
I have a hard time accepting ignorance as an excuse to go back to the original plan. I just think that is, you have to know your civics a little bit better and know how it works. So I'm a little, I just don't buy that argument.
Okay. Suzanne?
Yeah, I think if the new homeowners were enthusiastic about it, to change it, to come to planning board and change it, and then want to go back for some unknown reason, and having done all that disruption, I don't see how that makes any sense at all and helps their case.
Okay. Amanda?
I agree. I don't know that economically, that if you were to cut 2 new driveways, meaning going back to the original plan, that makes any economical sense. They currently already are using this shared, and that they've cut through for construction reasons. And to then have to recut for the 2 new, on their side, they'd only have to really be responsible financially for the one. They do have to go and recut a new driveway. And economically, if that, in the letter, saying economically that would be a hardship, that doesn't compute to me. So, and I agree with Matt that you came in front of this board, and I wasn't present there, but came in front of the board to change it, that leaves you with 2 options. No, that should only, you should be told that only leaves you 1 option then, so.
Okay. And I'm sensitive to the cost issue as well, where if there was an inherent promise to pay or not to pay, or how much to pay, or whatever issue to pay, get it in writing.
If this was flipped, then I'd get it.
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely. Yeah.
But it's not, this is to go back to a more, see, to me, and I don't know the finances on this, but to go back, not that it's
Yep.
even what I should or shouldn't know about finances, but.
Council Pierce.
I tend to agree. This is so wrought with what I think are civil matters that really go beyond the scope of what we're here to do. I guess I agree with the rest of the comments so far that there is an approval that this body made a year ago. And if it's not working out for the parties, then they need to find a way to work it out other than this particular body. So I guess I would support leaving it in place.
Okay, is there consensus support on that, or Carol?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it seems to me that the Griffins have already paid for a significant chunk of what would become the driveway for the other lot, because it's adding to the shared driveway. So I'm very confused about the financial and civil arguments here, but from a planning board perspective alone, the currently approved plan makes a great deal more sense to me.
And again, I think the civil issues
Are not our issue.
Aren't our issues, and if they're, if they want to separate it to keep as little shared driveway as possible with the neighbors, that's one thing. Now,
They also have another option to go back and talk and come before us with an additional amendment for the different configuration
altogether,
that they could agree on, yeah,
completely.
a year from today.
I don't think that's probably in the cards, but.
Yeah.
And I gather that there is not an option to bring a driveway in from their frontage
No, it looks
for
like-
one reason or another.
It's all
Or
conservation easement.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, the original approval pretty much removed their
Removed that
right
option.
to go through their own property for a driveway.
Again, the property was subdivided with this easement in place, so there's an easement in place, and, all the groundwork is there. It's just, we've gone so far down the road that it's tough to kind of claw back. Okay, thank you very much. Discussion. So in your packet, we have all of the information. You've got all of the supplemental materials. The Ornrino letter will be added to the final packet. So before us, there's a request to move this back from what I'm hearing from the board. There's no appetite for that. So, yes, Matt?
I'll make a motion if you'd like.
Yeah, I'll take a motion.
Okay, so I'll make a motion that we deny the request to revert back to the original alignment of the 2008 subdivision plan.
And I'll second that motion.
Okay, so motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay. One nay, for the record. That motion passes and the request is denied. Okay, well, thank you all for your heated testimony, and hopefully you guys can resolve it and be happy neighbors going forward. All right, let's move on to item 7E in our agenda.
Stantec Consulting Services, on behalf of Eversource Energy, requests 5 conditional use permit approvals for work associated with replacements of wooden poles with steel poles, including CUPs for the use in a residential district, wetland and bluff buffer impacts, and shoreland protection district and flood hazard district impacts. This is for property between Antrim Road and Farmwood Road, and along either side of Garvin's Falls Road in the RO, RM, RH, TWP, IN, and OFP districts. Staff recommends the application be determined complete, not a development of regional impact, and to open the public hearing.
Okay, so we have a determination of completeness component where we recognize that this is not a development of regional impact, even though it may be seen from far and wide. We have a DOC component. If someone would like to make...
Application goes to the surrounding communities
Okay.
anyways, so.
Someone would like to make a motion to find the application complete and open the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. The public hearing is open. Is the applicant here? Come on up. Okay, can we get a staff update on this? And was there any, so in my report looking at this, but I had a question on whoever's this, whose is this? Is this yours, Beth?
Yes.
So between Farmer Road and Antrim Avenue and then either side of Garden Falls, that's it? Those are the only areas that this affects?
Well, it goes through the whole city.
It goes through the whole city?
Yeah,
So it
Antrim
goes
is
from-
down by Pembroke and
Right.
Farmwood is up
Okay.
off.
Farm is way
Mountain,
up by
Sanborn.
Mountain Road, right?
Yep.
Okay, so I looked at it and thought it was just those areas.
No.
So you're saying from this corridor
All the way down
to
to.
this corridor?
Yep.
Okay, that's, because there's some of it's Northern Pass
It's the
area
same
too,
route
right?
that
It's the same route,
yeah,
okay.
Yes.
Great. Well, let's get a staff update if we could, or do you have anything?
I'm sure that, I don't have much to add. They did go to the Conservation Commission last week, and they did not have any objections. I did list in the report just some information about some of the pole heights. That would be for some of the permitted uses in residential districts, just some things to look out for. But I did do an analysis with what the Northern Pass heights were, just to get an idea of what it really meant. And it was a significant difference. Where these are raised maybe 18 to 20 feet, Northern Pass would have raised them 50 to 60 feet. So, and there's still, when we did, the Conservation Commission paid for a visual analysis as part of Northern Pass, and they determined that anything between 50 and 75 feet would be blocked by existing vegetation, and these are all pretty much going to be at the 75 feet and below. So a lot of the concerns with the visual impacts that were raised during Northern Pass are not, this project's not raised those same concerns. So I just wanted to, even though it's the same route as Northern Pass, when this first was presented, it was sort of something that raised a concern with us, just because, was this just another way of bringing Northern Pass through? But it's a very different project. So I just want to put that out there.
Okay, duly noted. Welcome to the table. You could state your names for the record.
I'm Tom Tatro, wetland scientist with Stantec Consulting.
I'm Sarah Hudlett, Project Services Specialist with Eversource Energy.
Great. Well, tell us about this project.
Sure. It's
Doesn't have anything to do with a shared driveway, does it?
No.
Just want to get that out of the
Nope.
way. Want to get that out of the way up front. Okay.
It's a proposed rebuild of the P145 transmission line, which runs between Concord and Bow. It's an existing right-of-way. The line itself was built in the 1960s, and it's just time to replace the structures due to cracking, age, rot, woodpecker damage. And so part of that is establishing access in the right-of-way and work paths to go in and replace the structures. And as you can imagine, with a long linear project, a number of different zoning districts are crossed. Wetland buffers, there's a bluff buffer, flood hazard zones, shoreline protection zone, and then through a number of different residential zones. So this CUP application is for disturbances within those areas. And that's kind of the project in a nutshell. If you have any other specific questions.
Woodpecker damage. First for me on the report here. Just want to let you know. That's the first time I've seen that.
You'd be surprised the whole thing can make.
Really?
Yeah.
Do they actually get any bugs out of a pole?
Yeah. Well, they don't know. Just tapping away.
Okay.
Questions from the board? No? Any member of the audience have any questions or concerns about this application? All right. So in our report, we have, what?
Public hearing.
Close the public hearing. Thank you. I'll close the public hearing. Public hearing's closed. Where is my recommendations? Wow, way over here. So recommendations.
We closed it.
I closed it. More speaking. 2.1 is to grant the following conditional use permit approvals. And they are outlined in, wow, CUP in accordance with 28, I'm not going to read all those. Disturbance of wetland buffers, disturbance of buffers in the shoreline protection district, disturbance of bluff buffer, encroachments with the floodway, and uses permitted by CUP. Okay, so outlined through there on our approval process here for granting the conditional use permits is outlined in your packets. No, not numbered, but 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 of them are listed there. Would someone like to make a motion to grant the following conditional use permits as outlined?
So moved.
Second.
Motion is made and second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Nay, that is good. You guys are all set.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was pretty simple, huh?
Don't you wish you went 2 applications?
I was gonna say, you wish you came first.
They did, they came to us about 4 months ago and have given us multiple presentations. So thank you so much for doing that, because that
Yeah.
really helped us understand
does
this
help.
project.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and again, if anybody's here for 125 North State Street, that was announced at the beginning of the meeting, that application will be heard in the June 15th meeting. It's been pulled off of this agenda at the applicant's behest. We'll move on to item 7G on our agenda. If you could read that into the record.
The John Flatley Company, on behalf of the City of Concord, requests major site plan approval to demolish an existing structure and construct a new multifamily residential building consisting of 64 units and associated site improvements at 3234 South Main Street in the Central Business Performance District. This was determined complete and not a development of regional impact at the last planning board meeting, and so staff recommends you open the public hearing.
Okay, so we'll open the public hearing, get a quick staff update if we could.
So some of the main comments, most significant comments had to do with the landscaping and layout and patio areas, and so they made some changes and they brought it back to ADR, and they pretty much addressed all of staff comments and ADR comments in a really successful manner. And so most of the other issues are outstanding that we recommended. We were recommending approval with conditions
Great.
to resolve those issues.
Okay, so that's excellent. We'll get an update, I'm sure, as we go forward here. Welcome to the table, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. Guess you scared off all the other folks that would have been here to speak going last, so, yeah, pull up a couple extra chairs. Oh, there is a gentleman here, okay?
No, that's just Matt.
Yeah. All right, if you guys could state your names for the record. I think that mic's probably hot, so if you want to pull that towards you, and then you guys can share the other mics, that would be great.
Well, good evening. My name is Doug Richardson. I'm Vice President of Acquisitions and Planning for the John Flatley Company. We have with us here tonight, starting to my left, Dennis Myers from Dennis Myers Architects, Ray DiMonte, who is our attorney, John Noonan from Fieldstone Land Consultants, and of course, Matt Walsh from the City of Concord.
Mr. DiMonte, it's good to see you again.
Thank you, good to be here.
Yeah, it's excellent. Great, tell us about your project if you could. We haven't heard anything about it, don't know anything, it's brand new. We recognize it. What building is it again?
In conclusion.
In conclusion.
It's really a pleasure to be before the board, especially with this old building that the city has the glory of owning right now. Glory. And we've been, historically, we've been through lots of discussions with the city. We've been through the zoning board of adjustment, obtained a rather long list, and you probably have seen it. I won't summarize them here, but a long list of variances and a special exception with regard to the property. Suffice to say that one of the primary characteristics of the property that kind of compelled relief at the zoning board level, a pretty significant level of action, was the grade changes. You got South Main Street at one elevation, South State Street at another elevation. Not cooperating elevations. It wasn't 1 story, 2 stories, or whatever like that. Once you got to ground level on South Main, you were half a story off, a story and a half up on South State. You got Fayette Street right there with a considerable drop between the two roads that created additional factors that govern this property. As you know, or most of you I'm sure are aware, the city has owned this property for quite some time, has put a lot of work into trying to develop it through the private sector, and they now have an agreement with the Flatley Company. And Flatley Company, by the way, is not seeking any monetary relief from the city or participation from the city beyond what is a normal city obligation as a property which is unusual compared to some of the prior. I think all of the prior interested parties. So we're excited about the property. I'm particularly excited about the property because I hate that building. I won't say I've seen it ever since I was born because I don't remember that time period. But other than that, all of my years in Concord, which started at day one, I've seen that building. And I'm very glad to be part of the team that's before you this evening. I'll be even happier when the first ball hits the side of the building. We've obtained the variances that are necessary, and a pretty compelling list. But it was, again, that change of elevation. And other factors are related to the ordinances that compelled that kind of relief. We have that now. The appeal periods have gone by on the zoning board. We've been to the Architectural Design Review Board twice. Great ideas. Made some changes that I think, among other things, distinguish this project significantly for the community. And each comment, things got a little better, more significant than what we had thought. And I would say that the Flatley Company has been a pleasure to be part of their team and to be working with them, because they've taken every concern and every comment as much into consideration as they possibly could and made significant changes. So what you see before you now is a very compelling property and proposal. We have frontage on South Main.
Do you have material?
We have it in
it's
our
on-
packet, all the elevations
Okay,
and,
good.
Usually, one of your people will run the laptop, and it's all on there.
Who would that somebody like me?
Maybe the site.
You want me to swap?
Let's swap spots.
We won't get into a very detailed, but just a general overview and describe it.
just pull it away from the mic too, Sam, while you're there.
Please, God, take that one down.
See that one anymore?
No.
Well, I was interested to see a pool. That was a nice added addition.
I'm happy with that too. I think it really, that's one of the things that developed, by the way, with the participation of everybody, the ZBA,
Yeah.
architectural design, the staff, and I think it's a pretty compelling layout.
An infinity pool with a flow over edge and a little pull-up bar would be
And we
an
got.
excellent addition to Flatley.
Well, we got the elevation to do it. We could
Say,
take, if
flow it right over, make a little.
Sure, let it go right
Who
down
doesn't want a
onto
view of
South
the
Main
Eagles
Street.
Club?
Yeah, with a view of the Eagles Club.
Yeah. And by the way, the Eagles Club has been a good neighbor. We've participated with them. There's certain factors that, we're getting to some hardships in a way, but you should know, of course, that whole area is paved, including the Eagles Club. And they've got a very narrow driveway. If they were stuck with their driveway, they probably couldn't turn a dump truck, a junk truck around in there. So we've reached an agreement with them that will give relief to their situation. At the same time, is anything happening up there?
Oh, it's happening.
Well, I'll try to paint a deeper picture there. But one of the great features, I think, is with regard to South State Street, there's going to be a lot of lawn behind that building with some trees and so forth. And although some of the neighbors were concerned about how it looks now and what it might look like in the future. I think they're pleased with what has developed, to look out their front door and see some grass, and some trees. Oh,
And
there
some
we are.
neighbors.
Now, just,
So we're gonna have,
do you want to just give a minute on the layout here, South Main and so forth? Go ahead.
Yeah, so the site plan is here on the board here. We're looking at taking down the existing building, removing all the asphalt paving that's there, merging of the two lots that are on the corners here of Fayette and South Main Street and South State Street. Constructing a little over 84,000 square feet of total gross square footage of building. The first floor, which is half below grade, is parking. So in the parking garage, there's 33 spaces. That was reduced from the last one in order to accommodate the larger area for ADA space in the garage. And then also they put in the northeast corner of the garage is a bike parking area. So that took up the 2 additional spaces that were originally submitted on the plans.
On the plan, where's the entrance to the garage?
The entrance to the garage is directly off Fayette Street. We're in this area.
There was a pointer?
Is that-
Right on
It's
this
right
corner
there,
here.
okay.
It's an entrance, single entrance coming in on this side, single direction, ramping down, and then on the opposite direction going out on Fayette Street. Once on entering Fayette Street, they can do either direction, in or out. We had a variance for the total width of that curb cut.
And that is at grade at the street level, right? You're not below grade there.
Correct,
So
we're not
that-
below grade. The grades on Fayette Street come up fairly steep, it's a little over 10% at that. So we have a waiver because in order to make that second grade for the driveway in, we're at 14.4%. So coming off the street, we're just below 2% grade on the sidewalk, then pitching into the site at 2%, and then going down on a ramp into the garage at 14.4%, and then it kind of will gradually ramp out on a 5% and then flatten out inside the garage. So that'll allow cars to make that access. I know that was one of the comments in the VHB review and also from staff. So that'll allow cars to make that transition from the steeper grades. The exit out of the garage meets the 10% driveway grade, so that does meet, and that's solely based on the steepness of Fayette Street. So we're trying to catch up to that grade that's over 10% now of the city street. So one of the other changes to the site plan that was from the initial submission was our layout. There was concerns, as we talked with Heather, was the landscaping. In order to get trees in there, in order to meet the perimeter landscaping, was to add this space in between at the end here. We added 2 trees to that area. We ended up shifting the pool and this outdoor area towards South Main Street. So that area changed slightly. Parking layout stayed the same, however, we ended up with our ADA grades coming in this main entrance right here. So our ADA access would be along the sidewalk here and in. That changed grades, so now we're meeting grade all along the existing grades of the parking lot from South State Street and all the way around towards the Eagles and everything. So that's the outdoor spaces that we show there, the outdoor parking spaces. There's 26 outdoor spaces, 33 indoor for the parking garage.
Say that again, how many?
The parking garage has 33 spaces.
And outdoors?
The outdoor has 26 for a total of 59 total spaces.
And I think we might add that required is 0.
Yeah, so. Yeah. Right.
Okay, sorry.
So, outdoor amenities was, the pergola was added, this pool area and patio, and then steps going down, and then a terraced area which has patios outside, and this is to make this grade change that's from the back of the project all the way down to the South Main Street. So we have retaining walls that are landscaped on either side, so that steps down, patio, then steps again down to the Main Street. South Main Street side, this sidewalk widens, so as you approach, it'll be a wider sidewalk right in the front. Steps up into the building at the main entrance, or down on the corner here is a ramp. So it's under 5% off of the city street, and the city ADA space, the handicap space, is right on this end. So that ramp comes right down to where that ADA space is, so they can come up, they'll ramp up this side and can enter the building, and then there's a ramp on the inside to either go to the garage, or then they can run over to the elevator and go to any floor. So that was the ADA grades, as we outlined in the VHB review and also staff comments. So overall, we adjusted landscaping and adjusted the site slightly in order to meet these requirements, and then also address a lot of the staff comments on just layout of the site overall. So we also submitted existing conditions. I'm just walking down, these are all the stamp submitted plans. Consolidation plan, so this right here is easement. So there was an easement for the Eagles that's proposed down along here. It's 3 foot wide. They currently have a 10-foot wide section between their property line and the next adjacent property line. They're providing a 3-foot easement, our subject lot, to the Eagles, just to make it wider so if they can get delivery trucks through to the Eagles Club here.
Yeah, it's currently paved right now, and we will do a new overlay pavement after we relocate their utilities. We're doing a new utility run to their existing facility.
Right, so utilities run overhead to service that building now, the Eagles and the existing building. So new power will be run along this easement, and also the existing drainage will be upgraded. It's undersized and also just pretty old through here, so we're gonna be upgrading that, and that will be an extended easement, which was brought up in the review. So we're extending the existing easement that's 8 foot wide. That'll extend all the way to South Main Street. So there's a small section of proposed easement right in this end. This is existing easement in between the two lots, and then a proposed 3 foot wide easement along here.
And you said overhead power now?
Yeah, but we're going to do underground power as the need for both buildings.
Scratch that off my question.
Yeah, it's currently overhead onto site. We're gonna run underground with a new service. Okay, it's covered.
So I think some of the questions and comments from the reviews were about the public right-of-way and things that needed licenses or easements in the right-of-way. So can you go back to the easement?
Yes.
Drawing for a sec? So is there, I'm just gonna go up to it because I don't know how to. So is there is there more sidewalk in this area, or is it all completely, like, is the building on the line?
Yeah, right here is the property line. The current building sits exactly on the property line.
Okay.
The proposed building sits back 3 feet, mainly because of the awning, but because of the outswing of the door.
Okay. So will that, oh, I see, this is existing.
So
Will that 3 feet be an easement to the city for pedestrian access?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
And is that on plans yet, or is that still in the works?
You kind of see it there.
yeah, so it would be this section of the sidewalk before the steps and before.
Okay. So that
This
will
would
be-
end up being conveyed to the city.
Okay.
Because this sidewalk now would just look continuous, at least from the passerby, because you're not gonna see the property line.
Okay.
This will just look like a wide sidewalk from the curb all the way to the building.
Thank you.
Chairman, may I?
And-
Since
and
we're
what-
on this,
What's in that easement now, the 8-foot easement that goes down to South Main? Is there anything under that? You said sewer? Water?
No, it's a
Drainage.
storm drain
Storm
line.
drain, okay.
And it actually runs all the way to South Main, but the easement stopped short. And the Eagles were very gracious in allowing us to extend that, and at the same time, we're giving them the 3 feet for the width of their
Gotcha,
driveway, which
okay.
is currently paved. It's just giving them the ability to have truck deliveries down their driveway.
This neighbor's getting along.
Easements again.
Don't read anything into that. That wasn't, just, sorry, go ahead.
That's okay.
Editorial.
Nothing to do about easements, but you mentioned earlier about the steps being down from the pool to the patio. Is there also ADA accessible to get from pool to patio, or?
The ADA access out to the pool and the patio would be right out this main entrance. This step terrace does not have ADA access. This is separate, where it's steps coming up, level landing here with that patio steps up. So this is separate from the amenities for the site, really being right here. It's a transition area.
There is a door there, though, so if someone were inside, they could go out that door and.
Okay.
Yes.
Correct, so it's not,
elevator.
yeah, there's, someone could come through here in the building
Yeah.
if they wanted to come out and access.
So you just have to
Yes.
go back around, so.
Yeah, so they couldn't like
Mm-hmm.
circulate around.
It'd
but
be
they-
through the building. Yes.
We wanted to maintain or actually develop as many pedestrian connections to Main Street. We want a lot of people to be able to walk out of their units, so as John has mentioned, you can come down the elevator into the garage, come out a door that is a storefront design, so it'll look like a storefront on South Main, or if you come out that door by the pool area, you can come down those stairs and hit the sidewalk there too. So you've got 2 points depending on whether you want to climb the stairs or come in through the garage.
Okay, carry on.
So also submitted was the consolidation plan. So that's showing the merging of the two lots, demolition plan, the easement plan. And landscape. And then, yeah, grading, so there was changes on the grading, as I mentioned, so that was mostly with the grades to the parking garage coming in, and some changes just with the storm drain. And then this has changed because of the shifting of the pool area and the main entrance in for the building. Utilities, so we kind of touched on where utilities would come in. So that new, we're gonna come overhead here to this corner, riser pole. This then would be underground service to our subject lot, and also new underground service here to the Eagles. So that runs right through here. Water and sewer, so part of the comments were to come out the South State Street side of the building. So we moved water is coming out this side and tying in where it was advised from the city engineer to tie sewer onto the Fayette Street. We are utilizing one of the existing 6-inch lines, the sewer that goes onto the South Main Street. So there are 2 existing sewer lines that come onto the property there. It's unknown what condition that 4 inches in and that it's undersized, so we're gonna cut and cap that and not utilize that and just use the 6-inch line that's there. That 6-inch line will only be for the pool pumps, the outdoor shower, and the draining of the pool if needed. So a very small amount is going to that 6-inch that's there. Lighting, so we had building mounted lights, 1 wall pack right over here by the garage entrance. Basically anywhere anyone's coming into the building. So 2 wall packs on the front that also provides light over on this end of the building. Wall packs also here that are larger. These would overlight for the pool area and common area. This would light the parking lot and all access along the sidewalks. And then this pole mounted light on the other side that would light this portion of the parking lot. One of the comments is there is some bleed over right here. It's very minor. It's 0.1 to 0.2 foot candles. We feel this would greatly improve where there's hardly any light in front of a dark parking lot here, where the Eagles and also our subject lot, you have a lot of people here, at least it would be lit up. There's no bleed over to the property line, so it's at 0 at this residential property line here. So it's just where vehicles are driving or parking is that slight bleed over the 1 foot candle.
I have a question.
Heather, did you
He
have-
answered my question.
Oh, okay. I think the Eagles like it dark, so.
I have a question.
Goose?
Just going back to your electrical service,
Yep.
What are the requirements for the building?
So there's gonna be lighting, power feed for heat pumps for air conditioning, heating, cooling. And then also you'll have
Gas.
How many amp service?
Gosh, I don't know, probably 400 amps.
No, it's 800 amp switch.
800.
It's an 800 amp switch. It's 65 units, it's 800 amps.
So if I may, so your overhead to the corner is on South State Street?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Correct.
So we're coming overhead over South State Street, a riser pole here, up to a transformer pad that is then feeding into the electric room, and then also a pad mounted generator.
This is consistent with the original plan when the city did the major sidewalk work on South Main. Unitil actually revived the plan, but during the work that was done out on the street, there was a temporary decision to run overhead across the site by the existing building to feed the Eagles. And so we're basically executing what was originally done for that program.
I believe 1,000 amp service is required to be underground the whole length through the street, yeah.
Yeah, I know there's an 800 amp main switch in the building.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, yes, Carol.
While we're on the subject of electricity, will there be vehicle charging opportunities in the parking garage?
Yes. That's a standard in our current residential projects.
Sorry, we keep interrupting you, go ahead.
No, that's fine. I think we covered the lighting plan. And then landscaping, so these were some of the revisions where we added, based on the abutter comment over across the street of South State Street, was we added more trees along this facade of the building. And then also we have, this was on the previous plan, was screening around the transformer and also the generator pad. We added a small tree right in this alcove here. And then where we had shifted everything, that opened up this area here, so we have 2 maple trees planted in this section. And then there's a tree, ornamental tree down on this section, and then plantings along where these walls step down that are the retaining walls, that's planted. Out front, there's a planter that would be a mix of flowers, a tree that was added as requested from staff. And basically we have these 2 islands that we added this bump out based on the city's plan to improve South State Street. So as of right now, each side is a grass strip. All the areas in here are grass. So we've reduced our impervious surface total by a little over 4,000 square feet.
On that bump out, the city, I think, is going to actually do the work consistent with the plans it has, and Flatley has agreed to pay for that bump out.
Yes, we already have a proposal from the DPW.
So overall, that's the site plans and portions that have changed. And then everything submitted after that is the construction details and then also architecturals that were submitted. So we'd like to just open up for more comments on.
We could probably jump to the elevations.
Elevations, yeah,
Right.
Fancy stuff, that's what we wanna see.
I want to see
We have
pictures.
Dennis here tonight, we gotta let him talk.
Not that all that work wasn't put into getting it there, but.
No discussion of solar for this? No discussion of solar for this project?
No, excuse me, the question here from
Any
Mr.
discussion
Hicks.
of solar for this project?
No, because of the design, there is a substantial amount of condensers on the roof, and they're held within for the individual air conditioning.
Each one, okay.
Yeah, we have gas-fired boilers and hot water with a air handler with condensers up on the roof. So there's 65 of them up there, and we had to also maintain OSHA requirements of keeping them away from the edge of the roof.
Okay,
So
thanks.
there's not a lot of real estate up there, unfortunately.
So where do they play wiffle ball in that back lot? So the tree right in the middle, right in the middle of the perfect spot.
So the elevation. Yeah, so these are the architectural plan views, so that shows also where they're landscaping.
They're a mix of 1 and 2 bedroom, a couple of studios, nothing more than 2 bedroom.
So on that shot there, so before you get to the kind of the renderings, so I love the look, the accenting colors, the depth that you get on that second bounce in with the little balconies in between the units. Are those functional balconies? You're going to be able to walk out on those?
Yep.
So my question on looking at that, and I don't want to skip ahead, but when I look at the renderings are very gray, and flat in color. So when you look at the last 2 pages, so or last 3 pages, they just don't seem to be as contrasty, and that's, I'm sure, some of it's the picture, some of it's trying to match it into the existing picture, but I like the look of the elevation drawings. Are they gonna be kind of your go-to? I guess I'm looking at you. So are they gonna be your go-to, or are the elevations more in line with what you're envisioning? So if you look there, there's not much, if you go to the next one, it really shows it. So that's what I'm looking at. So it looked more brown to me than on the elevation.
Dennis wanted to, yeah.
No, this is sort of almost a white box model put in context of the street.
Gotcha, okay.
The elevations are, the elevations are more in keeping with the finished product of what we're doing.
I thought that was the case, I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, in order to mask this into a photograph, we lose a lot of the detail of the color on the computer.
So is there any opportunity for uplighting of the cornice or any of the outside of the building? I know we've played around with in some of the ones we've done before, but if I know, lighting is.
Let's go back to the elevation.
Endearing to me. Why are you smiling, Beth?
Nothing.
Okay.
A lot of cities and towns are concerned about uplighting.
I
so.
know. I just think it looks.
You're not
it
supposed to
looks-
encourage it.
It looks great. Well, the only reason I'm saying it is because you got such an overhang on those fronts, not the sides per se, but certainly from the street front, it's got the appearance to, especially offsetting as you're coming down the street, you're going to see it from both directions. It could make a statement. So.
Yeah, there could be an opportunity for lighting under this soffit that would be like an LED strip that would just be on our nightlight thing. But so far, that's not part of the program at the moment.
Okay, just mention it.
There'll be some lighting on the.
I'm in a minority here, but I do like the uplighting. I think it looks good.
We don't want to compete with the Hotel Concord.
Hotel Concord, yeah, I'm not saying to do that, so.
You probably wouldn't like that if you had any of those units on the top floor either.
Yeah, no, and just those little round cans that kind of shoot up, I think they look great, so. Okay, go ahead, sorry, with the elevations, I skipped ahead, I apologize.
Well, as you know, we've been through architectural design review, and I think we've worked hard to address their comments. But we have a brick base, just to refresh everybody's memory, which takes care of the grade difference kind of between South Main Street and State Street. And then we have these towers, and our corners at the 4 corners of the building are articulated with this overhang a little differently than some of the towers as you go down the building. And we've squared off the roof over the recessed decks, so that we have some subtle differences in that long line of building with the various tower concept. We're also using a series of gray colors. You can see a darker one on this version of tower, a somewhat lighter one here, and the lightest one is our background of the main building. We're using the recessed balcony areas to provide accent color. So there's going to be a stronger color in these recesses as you go around the building. We suggested a couple different colors in the various elevations, but that'll be our accent color in this scheme. let's go to another elevation, which, this one is South Main Street elevation. This is our storefront facing the street. And here you see the colors again and the overhangs on the towers. And we've continued the brick wall down here and created kind of a entry gate for the residents to access the stairwell up to the main entrance in the pool. And we're suggesting the landscaping here that has been indicated on the site plans. And there are a few trees, you know, there are street trees that are kind of outlined here that will be in the foreground. But we think it manages to, you know, address the grade change between the two streets and still get us a distinctive building on that corner. But we'd be happy to answer any questions.
Alrighty, so I saw signage on there. I had one of those questions that I always ask is signage, but it's just going to be building name or whatever you come up with.
Just the address or building name.
Okay. Snow removal's off-site, so you'll be...
Yep, the Concord Center is right up the street, so we would be bringing it up to the north parking lot.
Okay. On the back lot, so the green grassed area, is that going to be fenced?
No.
Not going to be a fence at all?
No, our intent is just to be a grassed area there.
Okay, and that's right to grade, so that's right.
Right to grade.
That's right to grade. And then I saw just, and maybe it's just the elevation drawing, but garage doors on the entrance, so
absolutely
owners will have a
Yes.
push button to get in. They'll open the door, drop right in, and go.
Yep, with the proper safety sensors and for operation.
And then access to that garage from the first floor, key access to get into the garage.
Yeah, it's a fob system that they use for the entire facility.
Yeah.
So both exterior doors and that door on Main Street, South Main Street, will be done by the fob system.
So we're going from 28,608 feet to 84,000 feet, and from a design perspective, it looks diminutive, and I mean, on the elevations, it looks great. I mean, it looks like you've packed a 10 pounds into a 5-pound lot here, and it looks like you've done a very good job coming off the street and the elevations.
I think the most important thing is the owner, John Flatley. It's an adaptation of a product that he's already produced, and having that articulation of the facade with those living rooms projecting substantially off the building keeps it from being a box. It has some actual shadow and
it looks great.
Depth to it.
Okay, questions from the board? Suzanne?
Yeah, are the existing trees were they planted when they did the renovations on Main Street?
Yes. Yeah, we're not touching those.
So what I'm going to suggest, do you think they should be protected during construction?
I would assume that's part of their construction erosion control
We can agree to
details.
that, yes.
Yeah, wait, I mean, I didn't see it listed. And then my other question was it the concern of someone across the street on State Street that asked you to add more trees? And they asked you to screen are those utility transformer boxes
Yes, and we did.
with grass?
It's grass, but also there are some landscape material that screen the generator and the transformer.
So I think what would probably be nice is if you're using ornamental grasses. That's what the engineer
Yes.
picked
Is
out.
that what we're using? Not arborvitae?
Around that, yep.
Yeah, I think it could be more robust, and I don't know that those are tall enough to actually screen it. Someone might want to.
Like an arborvitae or...
No, God, no.
God, no,
God, no.
Pick the wrong one.
Spit on it.
Of all the trees to pick, you had to pick that one.
No.
The only one I know.
That's a tree an engineer or surveyor would pick.
Suggest a ginkgo tree.
Put a burning bush there.
No.
Or a
No,
Bradford
I'm not going to
pear, right?
suggest anything.
So if I could
I'm just going to, go ahead.
On the elevations, it doesn't show much, but on the plan drawing, it actually shows substantially more around right? Am I looking at this right?
No, there's one.
There's just 2 shrubs.
No, there are 2 grasses.
There's a bunch of shrubs
Oh, I see
there.
what you're saying.
There's
So
2.
It was just a tree on the elevations.
I see that.
Okay, but on the plans, it looks like there's 2.
I see it on the
Okay.
plan.
Just saying.
So and I'm just saying that on front of those boxes, the grasses, obviously, someone needs to make sure they're tall enough to actually do their job. I'm not gonna check on that right now. But you have one grass in front of one side on each one. I'm saying you could have it a little more robust.
Yeah.
And
So,
you've
yeah,
got-
typically it'll spread pretty quickly.
Depending on what kind you
So,
pick.
yep.
But where the tree is, you could actually have room for something that has more structure, like has fall foliage, and it also has twigs, because you've got room where the tree is.
Yes.
So
Well, yeah, it does. That's the only.
I don't think as presented, it's going to do what you think it's going to do. So you might want to just have someone, it's kind of like, I
Yeah,
don't,
we can have trim.
it's kind of important because it's on a corner, and someone already brought it up.
Yeah, he did not bring up the screening so much of
It-
those utilities. He was more, he just wanted to see trees and some of it broken up with the building of having vegetation. So the trees were added, we already had the
No,
screening
I think
around
that's
that.
fine. I just think if you're trying to minimize the impact of those boxes,
Yep.
it should be a little more robust. If you're gonna, and I
can add
just
more
don't know, and
plantings.
I don't know how high those,
Yeah, typically they'll be 6 feet or so. once
not
they-
all of them.
Yeah.
So just
Sure,
make,
it's all right.
make sure you guys can check.
Okay.
Additionally, which is not part of the landscape plan, the owner historically has been very robust with seasonal plantings at his other locations, and it will be no different here. He'll have,
Yeah, I mean, I mean, trees are really the more important thing, but if someone talked about it, like a neighbor, you kind of want to address that.
we did,
Yes.
Okay. Carol?
I'm just curious, is there an age threshold on this? I don't see any accommodations for children. No, swings or no sort of playground area, and I'm curious about that.
based on the 4 locations that he currently has in the southern New Hampshire market, the primary residents that come to a place like this are usually young professionals and empty nesters. We historically have a very, very little population of children. In a project of this size, we were saying it's about like 4 to 5% historically on the other properties in Nashua, Merrimack, Somersworth, and Quincy. So you're looking at 3 or 4 children for it.
Wow.
Well, 3 or 4 children still need a place to play.
We have a pool.
You got a pool? Yeah, they'll be there for.
Pool and bike ride.
Everybody will visit them.
We have 8 city parks.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's, Fletcher Murphy's not too far from there, is it?
No.
Also, which if you want to go to the rendering, it gives a better presentation of what's happening with not just the pool, but outside the pool gated area, we have a pergola with seating and a couple of barbecue stations for the residents too. There's a 3D rendering of it that scroll down to the bottom.
Yeah, with the cushions and so.
It's very hip. All right, other questions? All right.
There it
One-
Amanda?
Chairman, one.
Oh, Amanda,
question.
yes.
It's just- I saw that you used the accent color of the blue, like on the side of the awnings. Was there any request to maybe bring the blue towards the frontage, or like in the signage or anything, just to kind of tie the blue from the side to the front, to
The
give
blue
some
was,
color?
the blue was a request by the owner. He has a 5-story similar style building in Quincy, Massachusetts, where it's a deep blue as shown, and it's the durable, hardy materials. We're trying to maintain the how can I say it, Dennis, the understated facades that are along South Main Street. We didn't want to do the splashes of color, and we wanted a building that's timeless. So that is to identify visually the main entrance, and then also, as Dennis said, the recessed areas where we're popping that accent colors.
I like the color blue, it's nice.
I like
It's
it
a
too.
nice accent. I just didn't know if it had been considered to bring it to the front, but I get it. I just,
I like that idea.
It's the next page up.
Yeah. What do you think, Dennis?
We could, that canopy,
Yeah.
that band across the front could be colored.
I agree.
Yeah, that would be nice.
It'd be really nice, yeah.
Understated Main Street before, now we got a pink building on Main Street, so you gotta go see, you gotta go see the pink building.
Yeah, and the comments from ADR were very good in terms of the, not just the area with the pool and the pergola, but those two storefront windows to the far right and left of the door. They're actual shadow boxes, and we're working with Kimball Jenkins to do art display in those.
Oh, that's great.
Nice. That's a good thought.
Could do that on the electrical generator box in the back, too.
But it just might.
Maybe a cow or something. So, any other questions from the board? This is a public hearing, so we'll ask if anybody in the audience has any questions or concerns. Yeah, come on out.
I'll just speak. My name is Keith Dane. I'm on the Board of Trustees of the Eagles Club.
Okay.
We're really affected by this. Talked to Doug in the initial stages of this whole thing. Our concern was because we bought the building in 1937, our right-of-way in was only 10 feet wide, so, and we've always had access through the parking lot of all the buildings through them years. So we talked to Doug and relayed our concern. That's where the easements came in. They're gonna give us 3 feet, which gives us 13 feet to get our deliveries in and out of our building. Otherwise, there was no way in a 10-foot driveway we would have been able to get in and out, so. And in turn, we're gonna allow the easements for the drainage and anything else, so.
Great.
So we.
No complaints
we had
then?
a Real good rapport with both of them.
Oh, good.
As far as trying to deal with putting our underground lines in, because that's gonna come down our easements on our property. He's gonna let us use their property while they do that. The reason when they moved that temporary pole in front of Employment Security, when they did Main Street, they told us that we were gonna get an underground line at that time, because that was our concern when they moved our pole to right there next to the building, and they tore it down, what we were gonna end up with, right? So, but other than that, we have a good rapport with these guys, and I wholly support what they're doing.
Great, it's good to hear. Thank you. And if we could just get you to sign.
And a good partnership.
I took care of them.
You took care of them, okay, thank you, man. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Okay.
And we don't want it dark either, by the way.
Well, Doug said $3 beers for the construction workers was part of the deal, so.
I'm glad to call Rich on that.
After hours. Thank you.
Poolside service, too.
Yeah, the recorder just died, thank you. Okay, questions or concern, anything else from the board, members of the staff, anything? No, so we'll close the public hearing. And it's a testament to there not being anybody here to speak to this. This type of project typically would bring in a few people, either neighbors or people with an axe to grind about getting rid of a historic, beautiful building. But that said, don't want to put my personal opinion on that, but, okay, so in our packets, we have 4.1, so technical review comments, whose is this? Beth?
Mine.
Yours. So technical review comments, are we all set with those as far as?
Yep.
Everything is good? Ugh, it's just lovely when everything comes together. Okay, so in your packet, we've got 4.1 is to grant the following waivers to the site plan regulations utilizing the criteria RSA 674-44-1 and 2, which state that strict conformity would pose unnecessary hardship to the applicant, and waiver would be contrary to the spirit and intent of the regulations, and that's in section 3201 SPR to not provide a traffic study, which seems reasonable, and section 1901 SPR to allow driveway width with a 14.4% grade where a maximum of 10% is required due to the existing conditions of the street, and that kicks in your access to your underground parking, correct? Okay. So would someone like to make a motion to grant the following waivers as so eloquently outlined by your chair? I'll make that motion to grant those waivers. Is somebody like to second?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. 4.2 is to grant architectural design review approval for the site and building designs, landscape, and materials as submitted during the April 17th ADR meeting. Someone like to make a motion to grant ADR approval as outlined?
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. 4.3 is to grant major site plan approval for the proposed multifamily development at 32 South Main Street, subject to the following precedent conditions, and those are outlined in precedent conditions 1 through 6, and subsequent conditions 1 through 5A and B. Would someone like to make a motion to grant major site plan approval as outlined?
So moved.
Motion has been made, seconded by Matt. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. You are all set.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, and appreciate your work with the city, and, God.
And the
it's gonna be a
neighbors.
great-
Very excited to be putting another project.
Another
on Main
project
Street.
in Concord.
Yeah, absolutely. John has had the other facility since the mid-1980s, and he really wanted to do something
Great.
beneficial.
We're looking forward to it.
And completion?
It was also appropriate to thank every element of the administration in the city, planning, code, right down through administration, the boards. Everybody's worked awfully hard, a tremendous amount of input on
Matt
this
came in at
project.
the end, but other than that.
Yeah, and
He really-
9 o'clock tonight.
We really appreciate Heather and the staff planning. We were on a very tight schedule in the purchase and sale agreement, and we really appreciate being able to work with us in that schedule.
Great. Well, we're looking forward to seeing that change. It looks excellent, so congrats.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank
Thank
you
you
all.
again.
Ray, it's nice seeing you.
Yes, it is. It's great seeing you, Ray.
Should be done.
It's good to be.
Okay. Good to be seen,
Construction should
right?
be done late summer, early
Thank
fall
you.
of '23.
Wow.
Thank you.
Oh, great, really? Oh,
When do
that's
we see
excellent.
the other building come down? Can we all come?
It will be a spectacle. I think a lot of people will be there watching it come down, so I know I
Be a
will
spectacle.
Yeah,
And
a
Matt,
spectacle.
thanks to Matt.
Yeah, thanks to
Big
Matt.
time.
Eagles will be serving beers.
All right, and like I
Yes.
said, $3 beers at the Eagles, that's right. Okay, great, let's move
Bucket and
on
a half
here.
of
We've got
Canucci's.
one more item on our agenda.
5 to
The
6.
audience will be coming in momentarily for the Concord Next zoning update.
Wait, is this what I saw last week?
No.
Every single presentation I've done has been different, so I
Little
can't even remember. I think,
So
I'm
just
not
a
sure
quick,
which one.
just a quick
This was the
72,
one-
just a quick 72 slides, and then we'll get you out.
Yeah.
Kidding.
No, this is the one, Counselor Pierce saw. I gave this one to City Council.
Just pull that mic over a little.
Yes, this is, can you hear me now? You
Yep,
still can't?
no, we can hear you. Yep.
Okay. I just wanted to share this with you. I apologize, that I wasn't able to share it last week. We had a
That's
couple
okay, it was-
late meetings, but I just wanted to run through it really quickly. For those of you who have been here all along, I'm gonna run through it real quick, and for those of you who haven't, I'm happy to sit with any of you who are not familiar with the project and explain more about it. And I'm talking to you.
Yeah, I'm good.
So overall goals of the whole project, we all remember, it was address housing, create this new code, which is graphic-based, make development easier for smaller projects. Matt was asking me, would this have gone, about ADR? No, yes, it would have, but a few of the other things that we saw tonight wouldn't have, because
Which
they.
ones?
Mr. Cashman?
Yeah, Fayette Street.
Chapman.
Oh,
Chapman,
the
yeah.
additional.
The driveway.
Yeah.
Yeah. Off the top of my head, that one.
Thanks.
Modify dimensional standards to reflect existing patterns of development, because as you may remember, there's a lot of nonconformities in the neighborhoods where the zoning really doesn't match the development, the existing neighborhoods that are out there. So these are a few pages from the actual first draft, which hopefully I will get back tomorrow and in the next few weeks, make it publicly available. It'll be a completely different public outreach process for the phase 1. Here's just a summary of some of the things that are in it. Don't want to go into it too much because I'll do that with you all later. So phase 2, so phase 1 is basically everything you see in this map in gray. That was the bulk of the city. Phase 2 is very targeted areas that you can see here in the legend. So the green are the multi-residential areas, local commercial areas are in the, blue. I can't even see my own. Local commercials are in the red, you can't see them so well. So that's Loudon Road and Fisherville Road. Regional commercials are in the yellow, and then the flex industrial is in the blue. So these are the areas where we don't really have any vision and concepts in our master plans for development, for new development. So these were areas that we targeted to come up with a new division for the city. And that's why we were doing outreach. We did visioning a few weeks ago. If you find any of these PowerPoints online, you can get more information about the outreach that we did, and there's online form that you can fill out to give feedback. So that's kind of what we just finished, and what we're sort of still trying to get feedback from the community on these vision concepts for those 4 different areas. So I just threw in a bunch of pictures here to show you.
So sorry to interrupt.
Yep.
So back to phase 2 areas. So
Yep.
multi-unit residential areas are the heavily populated, some of the, a lot of the apartment building complexes are up in that area.
Yep.
Local commercial areas is straightforward along Loudon Road and Fisherville.
Yep.
And then regional commerce at commercial areas.
Yeah, that's basically the mall.
The mall and the Fort Eddie Road.
Right.
And then the flex industrial zone, so Whitney Road, the whole area up in Whitney Road, is that all gonna be flex industrial?
So, good question. Flex industrial is a district we don't really have yet, so you'll notice, like, we have a district which is not in the proposed new code, which is the Office Park Performance District, because it's geared towards just office parks, which nobody's building anymore. It doesn't really allow for a whole lot else other than office. So this was kind of repurposing those to allow them to do housing, light industrial, think like makerspace, live-work units.
Yep.
So it's kind of a mix of uses in a district that we don't have today. So we were looking at the southern opportunity corridor, basically the whole Langdon Ave area,
Yep.
Redeveloping that with right now it's opportunity corridor, which isn't really appropriate either for all of the mix of stuff that's in there. So we were trying to find something that fit it would be useful for a couple different areas of the city. So that area of Whitney is just straight industrial.
Yeah.
But we thought, should it be straight industrial? Do we want to keep it straight? We can keep it straight industrial, nothing would change. But we thought, look at everything that's going on up there with Market Basket, all that other commercial
Well, bring a
retail
lot in,
development.
yeah.
So maybe it should be some kind of mix of other uses that
And there's
is a bit more activated.
A fair amount of land along the river.
Yeah, exactly. So we didn't look at all of the industrial districts. We took that industrial district, we took the old OFP districts, and we took the Southern Opportunity Corridor.
Okay.
And we factioned them together to say, what's a new district? What needs could we meet that we aren't meeting, and allow some cool things that we don't really allow in the city
All right.
currently.
Oh, and you picked Austin, Texas as some examples. That's awesome.
Yeah, well, we
Those
also have,
townhouses
we've also
clearly
got
are not
Riverdale.
designed for snow.
No, the V roof in the middle.
We've also got Riverdale Park, Maryland. That's around the corner, basically, compared with Austin, Texas. So here's some new housing types that he was showing them. So we've got, these are townhomes. These are actually, they look like single family a bit, but they're duplexes. And these are actually single family homes that look, they're on tiny lots, but this is actually a single family home neighborhood. And this picture up here is what all of those things look like together. So people were really responsive in a positive way to all these new development types. Here's multifamily, new models for multifamily development that they shared. And so these are some of the local commercial sites, precedent images that we shared. So for instance, the one here on the right, you can see it's just a single story the way a lot of corridor development is, but it's bringing the buildings up to the front and putting the parking in the back. The image on the left is actually a grocery store. So these are all areas that we're thinking of. How do we create code that will allow these, for instance, on Loudon Road and Fisherville Road? So these are more precedent images. I like to point out in this image right here that this is a 4-lane, 2 ways. This is like Loudon Road, basically. It's 4-lane both ways. It's just the treatment of the streetscape is much different. So it creates a different atmosphere there. So these.
Can I ask you a quick question before I forget? So with all these great ideas, how do we go forward and prevent variances? Aren't these all up for variances?
Well, anything in the code would be up for variances.
Yeah,
but I think part of the process that I'm engaging in right now, and part of the whole point of this, is education and buy-in from the community. So if we see that, hey, we can create codes that create this type of development, and part of the whole point is changing the vision for the community, and you need buy-in. You need buy-in politically from the different boards and commissions and from the public. So it's really a process of changing a culture and getting that buy-in.
Yeah, I get. I mean, I understand that. It's
Yeah.
just that the.
Well,
variance
how do
part-
you, what would your suggestion or alternative?
I don't know. I'm always in fear that going through these efforts it's great.
Yeah.
Because it's a vision, which we've had before, and all of a sudden the variances come in and we never get to see our vision, and then it goes down a slippery slope. Or the vision that the community wants, but then, so I don't know how we can.
Can I ask an example? The car wash.
Mhm.
Would this have eliminated that design? Eliminated, meaning, would that have fallen in, like, I'm sure
Yeah.
everyone agrees, we didn't really like that barn-style car wash on Loudon Road, right? But there wasn't anything we could do about it. If you have certain preferences that it seems that you're outlining of how things should be, like storefront, would that have been one of those that might have, needed a variance, and we wouldn't have agreed to give them a variance because we didn't like the way it would have looked on the
Sure.
street? You know
So
you get what I'm saying?
There's two answers to the question, really. The first is that, so you're jumping ahead a little bit. The first is to sell the vision, the second part is to write the code. And the writing the code part is where you see, for instance, on Loudon Road, one thing that's been very successful is that you're not allowed to have parking between the building and the street. The whole development pattern of Loudon Road, for most of it, for a lot of it, not some of the grandfathered stuff, does not have parking between the building and the street. However, they didn't preclude drive lanes. So you still see a lot of drive-through or drive lanes. Maybe the next step is no drive lanes between the building and the street. So incrementally, we get closer to this vision. We also have setbacks. There's like 30-foot setbacks on Loudon Road. So if we eliminate those or make them 10 or something, dramatically change the setbacks, if you give a developer more space, he's going to use it. So there's an array of tools you can use that is going to encourage this type of development. The second thing that you need, this is my number 2 thing, is a precedent. So that's something that's really important that we don't have. The mall could be a great precedent, and that's something you show. I'd hoped that the car wash site would be a precedent. It's a 4-acre site. There's a lot that could have been done with that site in terms of density, housing, mixed use. So that was a missed opportunity, but somebody's got to make the precedent. So the next phase that they're working on is they're actually going to do some concept drawings for some areas that they've chosen of these corridors, and they're going to show you. So the one that they've chosen was where the corner of East Side and Loudon, that corner where the other car wash was trying to go in. A huge area, integrating the existing residential with the street grid network, with ideas for how to retrofit these suburban strips into higher density spaces. So they're going to show us. They're actually going to show us some examples of how it could be done here in Concord. So these are the types of tools that we have to educate people and to get somebody to take that chance. I mean, in terms of like pro forma and bang for your buck, they're going to make a lot more money if we tell them they can do something like this versus, put a drive-through, and 90% of your lot is parking. So we're also changing.
You gotta have a developer that's willing to do it, though. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
but
the
we're also
catch.
changing the parking requirements. So, instead of 2 cars per unit, it'll be one, the proposal is 1.25. So that's like 25% less parking to help these types of sites where they're like so vehicular oriented, and that's not really going to change. But so we're planners, it's incremental. We propose these changes, these sets of tools together, and we present the opportunity. So the first step is really, well, I keep saying the first step. There's a lot of first steps, obviously, but writing the code to allow anyone to do it. If we don't write the code to allow them to do it, it's never going to change. So we can write the code to allow them to do it. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. Maybe in 10 years everybody gets sick of the fact that nobody did it, and then they preclude it from happening. So if we could write a code right now that would not allow them to do some of the things that they're doing out there. But I'm not sure there's support for that in the community. So a lot of people were concerned. They wanted to have a code that would allow these cool things to happen, but that would not necessarily prevent local property owners and developers from continuing to do what they are doing. So not a super satisfying answer, but there's a lot in there. These are some of the precedents for the mall site, which maybe some of you, this is very similar to what we have here, and this is built, this is constructed, and this is what it looks like. There's this central main, this grid that they provided on that property, and they just slowly, incrementally over time rebuilt it to become that. And then here's some examples of that mixed-use flex industrial type thing. So we've got this distillery here and housing. These are on the same site. And then there's this sort of like fair, sort of looks like a flea market, but it's a kind of a robust outdoor space. Oh, my favorite pictures didn't make it in. You got to go watch the other presentations. So step 1, step 2, visioning is what we were just talking about. Step 3 is when they're going to take those sites and create some concepts and come back in a few months to show us what it could look like in Concord, and start talking about some of the proposals in the code. And then step 4, they're going to draft the code. And eventually, after step 4, combine it all together. I thought I had a calendar. Oh, these are the sites that I was just talking about. This is the Loudon Road site. This is the Southern Opportunity Corridor. The Langdon Ave area, the South End Marsh. They're really going to start looking at integrated street networks and how to create better connections in that space. And then the mall. I think they're actually doing DeMonte Drive, not the entire mall property, but how to start retrofitting some of these huge spaces with higher density development. So this is where we are right now.
So Heather, are you talking about like on DeMonte Drive, like bringing the storefronts up to the street and the parking being behind it, or?
So it's more incremental than that. So the first step, you would, it depends who the developer is, but the first thing you might do is add liner buildings along the frontage. So you're not necessarily demolishing anything in the back, but along this frontage, you're adding new buildings, and then slowly creating this whole grid and network. It can be done in phases, I guess is what I'm saying.
Okay.
So he's going to show us what DeMonte Drive could look like in terms of yeah, right, like a new, yes, bringing the buildings up, but
Yeah,
it's
bringing them
not,
up,
it's not like blank slate. Now there's
No.
buildings here, and now there's probably, because things don't happen that way, unless you have somebody with like a huge, $80 million investment, right? Exactly. So this is the schedule, and what I want you to mostly get out of this is that this is a much shorter, more targeted process, and we are looking at in the fall for it to be completed and for the whole thing to be compiled. So along with this phase 2 I will be interspersing public meetings about phase 1 and answering people's questions about that. And that's it. I don't want to take up any more of your time. I just wanted to quickly show you what I've been telling everybody else.
Good job.
And the website is concordnextinfo.info, and that's where you can see the 3 presentations, the online form. And the polls are supposed to be, there were the polls that were given through the online presentations. I haven't gotten them to get those in a table for me yet, but those should be available. They were really interesting. Everybody pretty much loved the new stuff, but there was a small percentage that were just like, but we don't want to make it impossible to do the old stuff, so anyway, it was good. Questions? Any other questions?
Thank you, Heather.
Thank you for humoring me. I know it was a long night.
No, it's good.
I'm just glad it wasn't last month.
That wasn't what made it a long night, but thank you very much for the update. Okay, any other business which legally comes before the board? Anything?
I have a question,
Yes.
procedural. I've been getting a few calls regarding the pink building. People generally like it,
Yeah.
but they asked if that's something that normally goes through planning or
Negative.
ADR.
Negative.
Okay, that's good, because that's what I told them.
Negative.
You did not lie.
Okay, good,
Do
thank you.
not lie, because I get the same questions and ask the same questions.
Oh, they've
Ask the
gotten
same
those
questions.
calls.
Yeah,
People really don't like it?
Oh, no, it's just, some people just, oh my God, it's awful, and
Everyone online loves it.
I loved it. I
Yeah.
think it looks great. I walked by it, and it looks even better in person.
Boring, old,
Yeah.
downtown
Yeah,
with
yeah.
no,
And it's not a huge storefront.
And it's just tiny. It's right at the edge of the entrance, but
when you
still.
go to cities and you see
Oh,
those
yeah.
funky kind of buildings that
Yeah,
are like
you
almost
see-
accents.
Like the
and-
employment security building?
Well, if we waited another 50 years, it might be cool again.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know?
That's true.
I don't think it would have been 50.
this yellow and blue plastic comes
My
back.
narrow ties.
With the granite, front entrance. you know, because if you walk by, it's like,
Yeah.
with the granite,
Yeah.
I don't know.
You need a little more character, I think.
You do. Well, we tried with some of it with the Bangor Savings Bank building,
Yeah.
which has got
That
some
looks-
character.
that looks
and
nice.
got some color, and it's a
Right.
little more upscale.
And the Ledyard Bank looks really nice.
Ledyard looks great down in the other end of town. We'll see what happens down north of that. That's what we need next, is north development.
And I have one other comment. I saw, Matt and I saw Heather's presentation at the Regional Planning Commission
Yep.
last week, and I was piqued by the idea of urban agriculture. And that's an issue that's come up with council, with community gardens and stuff like that. And
Chickens.
at a further, and
I
chickens,
love
yes.
chickens.
And at a future meeting, I would like to talk about that, on
Yeah.
how we can, is it appropriate for us, as we do landscaping like that, to ask developers to provide
Designate some area.
places
That's
for
Raised beds.
raised bed
Yeah.
gardens and like that, for agriculture, for the,
I could barely get those guys to put 2 trees in, but it.
Take out that pool and put in some raised gardens for the 4 children. that-
well, I assume the
the 4
grass
children
strip is
that are
for
gonna
the
be there.
dogs.
Like containers
So-
made of red
But thank
All
you.
right, without any further ado, we'll take a motion to adjourn. If someone would like to make a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for your patience and assistance getting through the night.
I just want you to know that I